This is the moment I've been waiting for. I have to confess, I hardly slept last night. I was so excited. For years, I have dreamt about the possibility of creating a clone so that I could be available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to answer your questions, personalized, not just some generic video or audio giving tips. But if you ask a specific question, I give you a specific answer, address you by name, and you hear me talk to you directly. To me, that's really the gold standard of what I've been after. And today is the day. It is, in fact, finally here. I'm going to give you a demonstration. And I see that Eric has joined us, Lance, David, CS Strin. All of you have joined us on TikTok. I apologize, but I can't show this to you on TikTok today. I'm going to be showing you my new artificial intelligence clone, not just a text bot, but you can ask me a question and I will answer you. It's my voice and it's 100% responsive to you. I'll be demonstrating that on my YouTube channel today and other social media platforms, pretty much any place other than TikTok. We just don't have the technical abilities to do that. So Chuck, thanks for joining us. Top Dog, Mark, thank you so much for joining us. If you have questions about any aspect of communication skills, we have two experts for you today. We have me. Hi, I'm TJ Walker. But we also have TJ Walker AI. We have my actual clone here. Yeah, I just finished this yesterday. It's very exciting. And we're going to be testing it right now. It's not perfect. We've been tweaking it. I just sort of got the thing up and running. I feel a little bit like Dr. Frankenstein right now. I hope not because I've created a monster. I hope not because I've created something that's going to do destruction, but because it's almost like creating a life. I don't want to overstate this. You may think I'm being silly. You may think it's vanity. But really what I am trying to do is help more people all over the globe communicate more effectively. And if I'm honest, there are real problems the way I do it, the way everyone does it now. The most effective way for me to help someone learn how to speak effectively. And Aram, I see you're trying to join me live. I would love to talk to you on live. I can't do it on TikTok. I need you to come on over to my YouTube channel. It's just TJ Walker Success on YouTube, and you can, in fact, come on live on the screen. I share the screen with you. So here's the problem in a nutshell with the way people like me help individuals learn how to speak more effectively, build confidence with their communication, build their media skills, their presentation skills. The best way to do it is I spend a full day with you in a room in a video camera, sometimes 2 days, sometimes a week. It's interactive. Very little lecturing from me. You speak, we video record it, I play it back, we critique it, we figure out what's working and what isn't. I catalog your strengths, give you one thing to focus on, and you do it again. And it's constant give and take. It's not just a generic lecture here on here are the 7 stories elements you need in every story you tell. That's what works the best. The problem with that model is it's really expensive if you have to hire me. There's travel cost if I travel to you or you travel to me. You've got to carve out 8 hours, sometimes 2 days on your schedule. So it basically eliminates 99% of the world. Now, the other way I've reached people, certainly in the last half a dozen years, has been through online video-based courses. And it's, believe me, it's a lot better than nothing. But the problem with it is it's really not that personalized. You have a question right now. How can I turn this message into a soundbite? You can't just plug that in anywhere. You'll see a generic video talking about conceptually, this is how sound bites are made. Well, all that's changed as of this very moment, today. That's right, today, it's all changed. I've created, and I say I'm not the computer science, artificial intelligence expert. I've worked with a company, Delphi.ai. They're the ones who figured this all out. but I have worked with them to create an artificial intelligent bot, if you want to call it. It's a chat bot, but it's more than text. It's audio. You hear my voice. Does it sound 100% like me? No, but I'd say it's a good 90, sometimes 95% like me. And coming soon in the next month or two, there'll be a video element. So you'll see something that looks just like me talking to you, giving you answers to your questions that relate to communication skills. So Taylor says, hi, Big Papa. Nice to see you today. Thanks so much for stopping by. Again, if this is your first time here, I'm TJ Walker, and this channel is all about how to help you become more successful in life by building your communication skills and building your confidence in your communication skills. That's what we do here. So we don't really talk about religious beliefs, pro or con, political beliefs, what party. That's not what we're focused on. We're focused on helping you communicate more effectively whatever messages you're trying to communicate, whether it is small talk, one-on-one, how to talk in a job interview, how to give a business presentation, how to talk to your board of directors, how to ask people for money, how to ask people for votes if you're a candidate running for office. So whether you're speaking to one person, 100, 1,000, 1 million on national TV, we're here to help you with those skills. Now, let me introduce you to our special guest today. Ladies and gentlemen, drum roll, please. I'm very proud to announce my next guest I'm going to interview. His name is TJ Walker AI. That's right. So I'm going to go to my link. I'm going to share this with you right now. I'm going to share the screen. I have a simple, let me share the audio. And get ready with your questions, by the way. Sharing audio. I'm going to interview myself, which sounds bizarrely self-indulgent and narcissistic, but it is with the purpose of helping you and helping others become better communicators. So I clicked a link, and it's connecting right now.
Hi, it's TJ Walker. How can I help?
Okay, so be honest with me. I think that sounds pretty good. I think it sounds like me. But we're going to find out in a minute. Now, it's capturing what I'm saying, so I've already messed it up a little bit, but it's going to answer my question. Hi, TJ. I'd like to know how I can be less nervous when giving a presentation.
Hi there. It's great to hear you're looking to improve your confidence in presentations. The key to reducing nervousness is preparation and familiarity. One effective technique is to practice your presentation multiple times on video. This allows you to see and hear yourself, making adjustments as needed until you like what you see and hear. It's not just about rehearsing in your head or in front of a mirror. Seeing yourself on video can provide a new perspective and help you critique your delivery more effectively. Another tip is to focus on the positives during your practice sessions. Recognize what you're doing well, whether it's maintaining good eye contact, using hand gestures effectively, or simply not using filler words. This builds confidence because you see tangible proof of what you're doing right. Remember, everyone feels nervous about speaking at times, but with practice and a focus on your strengths, you can significantly reduce your anxiety. How often do you currently practice your presentations? And have you ever tried recording them?
Okay, so that was not my voice. That was a computer generated, synthesized recreation of my voice. Was it perfect? I don't think it was perfect, but I do think it sounded pretty close. It's, to me, I instantly recognized that as my voice. Now, that was sort of a general question. We're going to try to go deeper here and find even more specific questions. I want your questions too. And I want your feedback. Bobby says, you bore me. Well, guess what, Bobby? Then I want you to tell me what would excite you. Ask me a question about how to communicate. Because the one thing I know with audiences everywhere is if you answer their question and talk about what's right in their mind, what's of the top utmost concern of them, it's no longer boring to that person. Now, I can't be interesting to everyone, and I'll be very upfront with you. This is not Mr. Beast style video where every single second there's more drama and more anticipation. We're not that type of a show. This is a show, this is a community, this is a channel devoted exclusively to helping you, even you, Bobby, become a better communicator so you can have more success in life. I don't know where you are in your life right now, Bobby. You might be a student, you might be an 80-year-old retiree, but all of us have to communicate about something. If you're a student, you may have to stand up and give a book report next week. You're a little nervous about that. If you're an 80-year-old retiree, you may have to speak at your condo board about why you think the pickleball courts are too noisy and you want them kicked out. Everyone throughout life is trying to communicate. People at 98 years old in hospice care trying to communicate the fact that they hate the food there. So we as human beings are designed to want to communicate and to need to communicate throughout our life. This channel is about helping you do that. Taylor writes, the secret to TJ's success is that suit. Okay. Well, I appreciate you liking the suit or thinking it might help. This is actually I believe, let's see, I think 2009. This is at least a 15-year-old suit, but it was tailored to me. Unfortunately, I've put on in just the last 6 months a few pounds. It doesn't fit perfectly, but it should when I eat the right amount of food. So I do appreciate you making comment. Let's talk about that. Let's just ask Digital TJ, what should you wear when giving a speech or something to that effect? And let's see what he says. So I'm going to call again. If you want to see what I'm talking about, I'm on a website. It's not video of me yet. That is coming up very soon. And right now, it's just the audio. Now, you can type in questions too with this AI bot, but it's audio. I chose audio as the default because I'm help people speaking. That's what we do, is speak. I see my good friend John Lee has come by. John, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. If you have a question for me or my artificial intelligence chatbot, the audio avatar, let me know. And Masti, I see you're hoping to join us on TikTok. I would love to talk to you on screen. I need you to come over to our YouTube channel. We're simulcasting on about 8 different online platforms today. All of them, you can access this through StreamYard, which I've linked in the comments, except for my friends on TikTok. We're on a separate platform there. So I'll go ahead and ask this chatbot to talk about what to wear when giving a presentation.
Hi, it's TJ Walker. How can I help?
I'm not quite sure what to wear for a big presentation I'm giving at a trade conference in Las Vegas. What should I wear for this occasion? Some people will be in suits. Some people will be very casual in the audience.
For your presentation in Las Vegas, where the dress code seems to vary significantly, the key is to strike a balance. Since some attendees will be in suits and others very casual, you might consider a smart business casual approach. Opt for a well-fitted blazer and perhaps a dress shirt without a tie, or a smart sweater. This way, you'll look professional without being overdressed, aligning well with both ends of the dress spectrum at the conference. Choosing an outfit that makes you feel confident and comfortable is crucial because it allows you to focus more on delivering your presentation effectively rather than feeling out of place. Remember, the goal is to resonate with your audience while staying true to your personal style and professional image. What are the key messages you want to convey in your presentation?
I'm going to end that for right now, digital TJ. So I thought that was pretty good. Now, again, I'm biased, I'm me, but in some sense, you could say I should be the harshest judge because it's very easy to say, well, my answer would be better. I got to tell you, that was pretty good. And did you note how it personalized? It took what I said and responded and said, I understand you have a presentation in Las Vegas. It was able to understand, I don't know if understand is the correct word, to process that it was in Las Vegas, that there were a variety of dress styles of dress in the audience. It assimilated all of that and gave an answer. Now, where is it getting this stuff? What I've done is I have ingested, or this computer model, this database has ingested all of my YouTube videos for the last 17 years. It has ingested not all, but most of my online courses. It has ingested every word of all my books on communication skills. It then puts all those words together and then pulls things to give coherent. I thought that was a reasonably coherent answer. So I'm pretty happy with that. Now, are there tough questions to ask about this sort of thing? Absolutely. One of them has just come in and says, Blue, I get that, but how do we know what's real anymore when we need to talk to someone real versus AI? Very legitimate question. Just in the news in the last few days, we've seen instances where someone tried to get a principal fired by creating a digital avatar of the principal's voice saying racist things. Just this week in India, an audio avatar was pushed around on social media showing Rahul Gandhi swearing himself in as prime minister, which he didn't do. So there are absolutely a lot of ethical issues to deal with when it comes to cloning, digital cloning, cloning of voices, of images. What I'm trying to do here, I think, in my own mind, passes the smell test. I'm not trying to fool anyone. I'm labeling it very clearly that this is which reminds me, my colleague Ben is with us in the green room. Ben, we need to put in the description of the show today that our guest is an artificially intelligent avatar, because YouTube does in fact have new rules about how much AI you can actually put in if you're using AI images and this is AI audio that's coming out. So Ben, just for us to be on the safe side, so there's absolutely no confusion, let's put in our description, certainly for YouTube, but for the other platforms, that in today's show, we are using artificial intelligence, and this is a digital clone of TJ. Now, I'm the real TJ. I'm here. I'm talking to you, but what we're doing today is you're hearing a digital clone. And I do think that if people know exactly what they're getting and there's no confusion, and the person who created the clone is the one who owns the right, I think that passes not only the legal test, but the ethical smell test. If the person's doing it owns the intellectual property and they're disclosing it to everyone in a way where it's obvious to people what's happening. Now, what is trickier is if you just steal the clone. I mean, let's say I like Ali Abdaal. Ali Abdaal is great. He's a well-known productivity guru on YouTube. It is possible in theory to create a clone as Ali Abdaal AI, suck in all of his videos, put up a picture of him, and then have a website saying, hey, get your answer from Ali directly for $5, be selling that and stealing all of his property. That, I would say, is clearly unethical, should be illegal, and is a potential problem. So I want to stress what I'm doing here, it is different than what AI is doing, and OpenAI and ChatGPT. People like the comedian Sarah Silverman and the author Larry King not Larry King, Stephen King. Larry King is no longer with us. And the New York Times have sued ChatGPT and OpenAI, saying you're using all of our raw content to create these new answers. The answers you're hearing right now are all being pulled just from my own words. It's either words I've written, it's words I've spoken on YouTube, or it's words I've spoken in an online course. So I can't be accused of stealing if I'm stealing from myself. I'm reusing my own content, remixing it in a way to make it more useful. If you have any questions about this, let me know. You can post your comments right here in the comments section on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitch, and I will typically see those right here in our StreamYard. If you're on TikTok, I sometimes miss the questions because my cell phone is 3 feet away and it's scrolling around quickly. It's much harder to read, but I will attempt to take a look at those as well. We have had a number of people's popping in on TikTok. Always an interesting audience there with so many friends, new friends and old friends joining us. I just want to make sure I haven't missed any other questions or comments. So we're testing this. It's not perfect yet. Very few inventions in general or new technologies are perfect. But I have to tell you, I am extremely impressed. My understanding is what you've seen right here already, as recently as like a year ago, would have cost millions of dollars. And I did this very inexpensively. I do want to say hello to Craig and Mark and Prelude, Taylor. So many of you have stopped by to say hello. I appreciate that. And especially some of the nice comments on the suits. Okay. I certainly don't mind a few jokes. What's the secret to your confidence? Let's ask that of our avatar. So I'm going to, again, push the button. And right now, this is free for anyone to use. Fatma's joining us. Fatma, if you want to ask a question. John Lee, if you want to ask a question and test this out, because there were a few questions I tested yesterday where it got some of the details wrong with some of the stories. Nothing I thought was genuinely giving anyone bad advice, but it did mess up a few things. Let's try it again.
Hi, it's TJ Walker. How can I help?
TJ, what is the secret to your confidence when you are speaking and presenting?
The secret to my confidence when speaking and presenting really boils down to preparation and practice. I spend a lot of time reviewing and rehearsing my material so that I know it inside and out. This preparation includes not only understanding the content, but also anticipating questions that might arise during the presentation. Another key aspect is the practice of recording myself. By watching these recordings, I can observe my body language, tone, and delivery, and then refine them. This method helps me to internalize my content and presentation style, making it more natural when I finally present to an audience. Moreover, embracing the mindset that every presentation is an opportunity to improve and connect with the audience boosts my confidence. It's not just about delivering information, but about making it engaging and valuable for the audience. Each speaking opportunity is a chance to make an impact, and keeping that perspective in mind fills me with purpose and confidence. How do you currently prepare for your presentations or public speaking opportunities?
Well, TJ, I do rehearse on video, but I'm wondering if you can give me even more advanced techniques. I want to know really superstar techniques that you and Anthony Robbins and the Zig Ziglars of the world have used.
Absolutely. Diving into more advanced techniques can really elevate your speaking skills to that superstar level. One powerful technique is storytelling. The most impactful speakers, like Anthony Robbins, excel at this. They weave personal anecdotes or relevant stories into their presentations to connect emotionally with their audience. This isn't just about telling a story, it's about making your audience feel a part of the story. Another advanced technique is using pauses effectively. A well-timed pause can give your audience time to absorb what you've said, build anticipation, or emphasize a point. It's a subtle art, but when mastered, it can transform your delivery from good to great. Also, consider varying your vocal tonality. This isn't just about volume, but about pitch, pace, and emotion. Changing your tone can keep your audience engaged and convey your message more effectively. It makes your speech dynamic and can highlight key points you want your audience to remember. Lastly, always aim for clarity and simplicity in your message. Even when discussing complex ideas, the simpler you can make your language, the more powerful your message will be. This helps ensure that everyone, regardless of their background or expertise, can understand and relate to what you're saying. Implementing these techniques can significantly enhance your public speaking skills, making your presentations not only informative, but also engaging and memorable. How have you been incorporating storytelling or changes in vocal tonality in your presentation so far?
I try to mix it up, but I'm confused about something else because it seems like a lot of professional speakers really use the whole stage. They're walking around and moving, and yet I've always heard you shouldn't pace back and forth. It will make you look nervous and make you look uncomfortable, that a good speaker should just stand with their feet planted in one place. So, what is it?
It's great that you're observing these nuances in professional speaking. The key here is understanding the difference between purposeful movement and nervous pacing. When you see top speakers using the whole stage, they're not just walking back and forth aimlessly. They move with intention. Each step they take, each position they choose on the stage is designed to connect with different parts of the audience or to emphasize a point. Purposeful movement can make a speech more engaging and dynamic. It helps maintain the audience's attention and prevents them from getting bored. For instance, moving closer to the audience can make a moment feel more intimate, while stepping back can give the audience a moment to reflect on what you've just said. On the other hand, pacing back and forth without purpose can indeed make you appear nervous or unsure. It's like the difference between having a conversation where you're comfortably gesturing and moving versus fidgeting because you're uncomfortable. The trick is to use the stage to your advantages strategically. Think about how each movement can enhance the message you're delivering. For example, when you make a key point, you might stop and stand still, letting the weight of your words sink in. Then, as you transition to a new idea or story, moving to another part of the stage can signal this change to your audience. Remember, the goal is to make your movements feel as natural and fluid as conversation. This doesn't mean you need to roam the entire stage constantly, but rather use it thoughtfully to help convey your message more effectively. How do you plan to incorporate these ideas into your next presentation?
I'm ending it right there. I got to tell you, I'm blown away by this. That is 1,000 times better than what I thought it might be. I thought it would be really kind of rough. But to my ear, I haven't actually heard anything yet that sounded really off or bad advice, because you constantly hear about how artificial intelligence gives bad advice, bad medical advice, racist, sexist advice, all sorts of things. It's still early. I'm sure we'll come up with some questions that will stump TJ AI, but so far, I'm hearing these for the first time. I'm just asking these questions. I see John has posted a question. We'll get to that in a moment. Fatma, if you want to ask a question, I've seen you've come into the green room. If you want to ask a question, just turn on your microphone and your camera, and I'll add you to the green room. Meanwhile, several of our friends on TikTok have requested to join us on screen. The reason I didn't say accept is we're simulcasting today on 8 different platforms. 7 of them are all using StreamYard. And that's where you're able to see this screen of this AI TJ. So if you want to ask questions and even appear on screen, I invite you, I welcome you, but I would need you to come on over to YouTube and click the link in StreamYard. Hi, I'm TJ Walker. If you're new here, if this is your first time here, this is the TJ Walker Success Channel. We're all about helping make you more successful by boosting your communication skills and improving your confidence in your communication skills. Today is a little bit different. That's very different. What am I saying? Today we're doing something I thought was still maybe 10 years out. I'm unveiling my new artificial intelligence clone. It's a clone of me. We have essentially taken a vacuum and vacuumed up everything I've ever said. Thousands and thousands of videos on YouTube, on Udemy, on online course platforms, books I've read. And we didn't do the blog post yet. We should probably do that as well. It sucks it all up, and through massive, massive computer power, someone can ask a question, it convert it into text, pull from these millions and millions of words of my content and assemble it into coherent answers. At least to my ear, it's coherent. Now, can you tell that's not exactly me? Is there a slightly artificial quality to it? Sure. But I got to tell you, to me, that sounds like 90% of me. I want to know what you think of it, the voice quality and also the content, because I can change the calibration to give shorter answers or longer answers. This is sort of the medium range. I would, because I've got to fine tune this. I don't have all the answers, and haven't figured out what to give away for free and how to monetize, how to put it as an add-on to existing courses or existing trainings. There's a million questions here. But what I'm very excited about is the possibility of really helping people on their terms where they can just ask a question. Because sometimes you've got a question about communication skills and you're looking at a 500 lecture course. Where do you start? It's overwhelming. To be able to just ask any question you want seems a bit simpler. Okay, I've gotten out of autofocus there. Sorry about that. Let's come back to it. All right, let's take a question. And again, our friends on we're going to come to John Lee's question in just a moment. And I do appreciate various questions. Taylor says, how much can you put in? And there are a lot of different services out there. I'm using a service called Delphi, Delphi.ai. And my understanding is for the particular package I use, a monthly package, there's unlimited amounts of data and video I can put in. So you can put in a lot. Taylor also says the digital clone doesn't look as good in that suit. Oh, thanks so much. But the digital clone is going to be coming out in video, in my understanding, in really a month. So in theory, you should actually see me in video looking this good or better. So that is coming. Right now, it's audio primarily, but the video is coming. It's definitely coming. And Taylor says, TJ uses every tool he has at his disposal. I try to. I do think to be successful in any industry, you have to use the technology of your times. If you had a restaurant at a time when no one else had electricity or phones or gas fire, and you just cooked on an open fire and everyone else did, that was fine. But if all of a sudden your competitors are using electricity or microphones or not microphones, microwaves or telephones for reservations, and you still say, I'm only going to use the campfire, you're probably going to be irrelevant and out of business soon. You've got to use the technology of your time. I got in, frankly, too early in the online course business. I got in 1998. It was too early. And it took a long time and a lot of losses for more than a decade before it really took off. I think, I'm making a bet, I think now is the perfect time to hop into artificial intelligence and cloning to help any expert, trainer, consultant, for that matter, a CEO who has to answer the same questions all day long. So let's go to more questions. Now, this one comes in courtesy of my media relations colleague, John Lee. We're going to call it again, the AI.
Hi, it's TJ Walker. How can I help?
How do you translate your speaking and presentation insights into the more free-flowing environment of conducting a podcast interview?
Translating speaking and presentation insights into a podcast interview setting is all about leveraging the conversational nature of podcasts while maintaining the clarity and engagement you aim for in formal presentations. In my experience, the key is to treat each podcast episode as a dynamic conversation rather than a scripted speech. This means being prepared but also flexible, allowing the conversation to flow naturally. For instance, while I advocate for minimal scripting in podcasts, I do emphasize the importance of having a clear structure in mind. This involves knowing your key points and having a set of questions ready, but also being prepared to diverge from them based on where the conversation leads. This approach keeps the content engaging and spontaneous, which is crucial for podcasts. Moreover, it's essential to listen actively. In a presentation, you're primarily conveying information, but in a podcast, you're also receiving it. This means you need to be fully present, responding to and building on what your guest says. This not only makes for a richer conversation, but also helps in creating a connection with the audience as they feel part of a genuine exchange rather than a one-sided lecture. Finally, embracing the personal touch in podcasts can make a significant difference. Sharing personal stories or insights when appropriate can make the content more relatable and memorable. It's about finding the right balance between professional content and personal engagement. How do you think these strategies might apply to your own experiences or challenges in podcasting?
I could see how they could be helpful. My friend John Lee wants to know, how do you really separate the truly great podcast hosts from the average ones, the okay ones? What sort of advanced tips can you give us to really make us stand out as a truly exceptional podcast host?
That's a fantastic question, and I'm glad John Lee is curious about this. The difference between a truly great podcast host and an average one often boils down to a few key aspects. Firstly, exceptional hosts are superb listeners. They don't just wait for their turn to speak. They actively listen to their guests, which allows them to ask deeper, more insightful follow-up questions. This not only enriches the conversation, but also shows the guest and the audience that the host is genuinely engaged. Secondly, preparation is crucial, but so is flexibility. The best hosts prepare thoroughly for each episode, researching their guest and the topic extensively. However, they are also adept at pivoting the conversation based on the guest's responses. This balance keeps the podcast dynamic and prevents it from sounding too scripted. Another important trait is the ability to create a narrative. Great hosts understand that each episode should tell a story, even if it's a nonfiction or interview-based podcast. They guide the conversation smoothly through the topics, ensuring there's a beginning, middle, and end that captivates listeners. Finally, personality plays a significant role. The most memorable hosts infuse their unique personality into the podcast. They're not afraid to be themselves, which creates a genuine connection with the audience. Authenticity can't be faked, and listeners can tell when a host is genuine or putting on a persona. By focusing on these areas, any podcast host can elevate their skills and stand out in a crowded field. It's about blending preparation with spontaneity, professionalism with personality, and always aiming to deliver value to the audience. How do you think these elements could be integrated into your or John Lee's podcasting approach?
So one thing I can tell I do need to talk to our developers about, which is, how do I put a pause button on? Because I'm disconnecting each time, because anything I say, it's then going to respond to. So that's one thing I'm noticing would be an improvement. We're looking to make this better. If you're just joining us, what in the world is going on? Is that guy talking to himself? Well, in a sense, yes. Hi, I'm TJ Walker. I'm a live person. I'm not an avatar. I'm a communications expert. And I'm asking questions of digital TJ Walker. TJ Walker AI. It's a digital clone that has been created with my input based on my words, my voice, my videos, my text, and it's giving answers. Now we asked a question from John Lee, and I'm going to say something. I apologize. It's going to make me sound like a delusional, raving maniac, narcissist. But I just love that answer. I mean, I was thinking, this guy's really smart. This is why I'm learning something here. But then I'm realizing it's pulling things that I have said over the years and written about and talked about or interviewed people about. Part of it makes me realize that the fallibility of human memory. I'm forgetting a lot of this stuff. But I got to tell you, I liked that. I thought it had some good nuance. I didn't hear anything that really struck me as a huge clunker of, well, that's obvious bad advice. The AI messed this up. I didn't hear anything like that. John says it's really impressive, the content and vocal quality. Now it's modeling itself after my real voice by uploading audio. And I think you can tell it's not 100% there, but it's pretty good. It's at least 90%. And John, I know you're like me. You're old enough to remember going through the Atlanta airport, hearing the robotic voice, "Attention passengers, be sure to stand in and don't let the door close and hit you." It's certainly not some sort of artificial clunky robotic voice like that. It's not 100%, but it's pretty good. John says, I tried to throw you a curveball, but your AI hit it out of the park. I do appreciate that feedback, John. You know, something I did just this morning, and I was frankly surprised at how good it was, is I asked it to create sound bites. Now, those of you, if you're in school or something and you've never been interviewed by a major TV network or newspaper, a sound bite is when a reporter interviews you for 10, 15, 20 minutes, pulls quotes out, puts the text in a story or the sound and voice of you in video or audio. It's really the only time you get to communicate with that audience is with your sound bite. But you can stay on message all day long and not necessarily get quoted. You've got to package your messages with analogies, bold action words, cliches. There's 10 of them that I really stress. And I've talked about a lot. So, John, if you want to toss out a media message and we can ask it to turn that message into sound bites, let me know. I may come up with one. If any of our TikTok friends have any questions that we want the AI to answer, let me know. One comment comes in and says that he stops and lets the weight of it to sink in for us. I'm assuming you mean the AI is stopping it. I do think it's doing an excellent job of putting in pauses the way I do. The way I did just there. Putting in pauses to sound natural, to sound conversational, because in a sense, it's more efficient to just have words come out quickly, no spaces between the words, no difference between a pause, a comma, a period, a paragraph break. But I'm already hearing that it is, in fact, putting in varying lengths of pauses. Now, long term, and I hope we're talking 6 months and not 6 years or 60 years, my real goal is that you can speak right into the microphone talking to this, or upload a video of yourself. And my AI will be able to critique your pauses, critique the conversational flow of your voice, critique the changes in pitch and volume and speed, all of that. Right now, I can't do that. What it's doing is it's listening to my question, converting it to text, searching its database text, and reassembling an answer. But my understanding is we're not that far away from it being able to simply process the audio in the audio format and to be able to give analysis. And that's frankly what I'm most excited about, because then we really could use this tool to essentially do a full live scale training in a way that's going to be much more affordable and much more convenient for people. Oh, the other thing, it does it in any language. Now, I think for this particular model right now, whatever settings I have, it only works in English. But my understanding is it can answer in virtually any language in the world, which to me is profoundly exciting because when I go to different countries, different continents, and I'm working with people, quite often they are nice enough to work with me in my language, and they're having to think in English and translate from their own native language to English for the training. But in real life, they're giving their presentations in Spanish or Russian or Hungarian or Chinese, Mandarin. And this AI will allow them to speak their language and give them answers, give them help, give them critiques, give them nudging in their own language. So it just opens up expertise to the entire world. That's what I'm excited about. Let me stress right now, I'm not selling you anything today. I'm here because I want feedback from you. I want to know what changes you think I should make. I mean, I've already noticed one. I need to be able to have a button that just says pause so that I don't have to call again and go through that each time. So that's one thing I do want to add. But I would love to know other feedback from you. Do you think the answers are too long or too short? I don't want to be so superficial that it's just giving you a quick, glib, little 30-second soundbite. But I also don't want it to go and give an hour-long lecture and you're thinking, come on, this is too much. So right now, my understanding is it's about 200 words per answer. And we can actually change that and make it shorter or longer. Okay, let's come up with a more challenging, a more challenging opportunity to see how it works. I'm going to give it a specialized question that is in the subsection of media trends. So I help people with all aspects of communication. There's also speaking to the media, which is a highly specialized type of presenting. And then there is speaking to media interviews where it's not live and you're going to be quoted. So let me give it a challenge of creating soundbite. I did this once, I believe at about 5:30 this morning, and it did a good job of the first one, but let's see how it goes again. We're going to call again, and we got to hear it do its opening pitch again.
Hi, it's TJ Walker. How can I help?
I have a media interview coming up with a local TV station. I'm running for office as a candidate for the city commission. And my number one issue is I want to protect the environment. We have a river and a lake that are a part of our community. They're becoming increasingly polluted. My number one message to voters is that I want to clean up our lakes and our rivers, and I want to crack down on polluters. But I'm having trouble crafting sound bites. Can you give me some great sound bites that will help me get better media coverage?
Absolutely. Crafting compelling sound bites is crucial for media interviews, especially when you're addressing significant issues like environmental protection. Here are a few sound bites you might consider. 1. Clean water is not a luxury, it's a right. It's time we hold polluters accountable. 2. Our rivers and lakes are not waste dumps, they are treasures. Let's protect them. 3. Every child in our city deserves to play by a clean river, not a toxic stream. We can and must do better. 4. Pollution is not just an environmental issue, it's a health issue, an economic issue, and a moral issue. It's time for action. Remember, the key to effective sound bites is to make them memorable, punchy, and directly tied to the emotions and values of your audience. Also, be prepared to expand on these sound bites with specific plans and data when prompted for more details during your interview. How do you plan to implement these policies and actions?
Those were great sound bites. I do appreciate those. I'm wondering if you can help me understand exactly how you created them? What sentence structures were you trying to use in those? Were those analogies or bold words? If you could go back and actually analyze the specific sound bites you gave me one by one, and then tell me what made it quotable based on your analysis.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to break down the sound bites to help you understand the crafting process. The key elements I focused on were simplicity, emotional impact, and clarity, which makes statements memorable and quotable. For the first sound bite, clean water is not a luxury. It's a right. It's time we hold polluters accountable. I used a contrast structure. By stating what clean water is not before asserting what it is, it creates a strong, memorable point. This structure helps emphasize the fundamental right to clean water and calls for action, which resonates with the audience's sense of justice. In the second, our rivers and lakes are not waste dumps. They are treasures. Let's protect them. I again used a contrast technique. This not only highlights the current misuse of natural resources, but also redefines them as valuable assets worth protecting. This repositioning can shift public perception and inspire collective action. The third soundbite: every child in our city deserves to play by a clean river, not a toxic stream. We can and must do better, uses a direct appeal to the audience's emotions and values, focusing on children, a universally sympathetic group. This soundbite aims to create a vivid image of the current negative situation
I'm a little
juxtaposed with a
confused.
call for improvement.
I'm a little confused. What I heard in those couple of those sound bites is you used absolutes. I thought that was one of the sentence structures that made something quotable and therefore more interesting to a reporter. Can you talk about the use of absolutes and also attacks when crafting sound bites?
Absolutely, let's dive into that. Using absolutes and sound bites is indeed a powerful technique. When you say things like always, never, or must, it creates a sense of certainty and authority. This can make your message more compelling and memorable because it leaves little room for ambiguity. It's about making a bold statement that stands out and sticks in the mind of your audience. Now, regarding attacks, they can be a double-edged sword.
Okay.
While they
Apologies for
do make sound
interrupting.
bites
I
more
need
quotable.
to interrupt. Question from John Lee. He says, let's say you are a sustainability expert and you're being interviewed by the New York Times about some controversial new regulation from the Environmental Protection Agency. And you want to make the point that regulation done right can spur innovation and the economy. What would be some good sound bites for that sort of an expert to use in an interview, a print interview, over the phone with a reporter with the hopes of getting interesting quotes and sound bites on that message in the final story?
Absolutely, John's question is spot on for crafting impactful media messages. When you're discussing how regulation can spur innovation and the economy, you want your sound bites to be memorable, quotable, and to resonate with the audience's values. Here are a few strategies. First, use bold action words and absolutes to make your point clear and assertive. For example, you might say, smart regulation isn't just necessary, it's a catalyst for innovation and economic growth. This statement uses the absolute isn't just necessary and the bold action words catalyst for innovation. Second, incorporate analogies to make complex ideas more relatable. You could say, just as a gardener prunes a plant to encourage growth, effective regulation trims excess and fosters economic bloom. This analogy helps the audience visualize regulation as something positive and natural rather than restrictive. Third, Don't shy away from emotion. Emphasize the positive impact on the community. For example, regulations that foster innovation, create jobs, enhance community well-being, and lead us toward a sustainable future. This statement taps into the emotional aspects of job creation and community health, which are important to many people. Lastly, use rhetorical questions to engage the audience and provoke thought. You might ask, what if regulation could be the key to unlocking our economic potential and safeguarding our environment? This invites the reader to think about regulation in a new, more positive light. By using these techniques, you ensure that your message about the positive impacts of regulation on innovation and the economy is not only heard, but remembered. What other aspects of your communication strategy would you like to enhance for media interactions?
That's it for now, TJ. You've been very helpful. So, John, I feel like I am in a science fiction movie right now because I got to say I like that. I'm seeing, clearly those are principles I've laid out, but I'm seeing the artificial intelligence do it faster than my own brain would do it if I were sitting in a meeting with a client and we had to try to craft sound bites. So it's taking the principles and then looking at the broader universe of data and examples and language, repackaging it into sound bites. In the previous answer, I thought it didn't give quite the clarity I would have liked to in analyzing the sound bites, saying, well, this was an absolute, this was an attack, this was using bold language. It didn't 100% use the exact language I would use in describing the soundbite structures. But I still thought it gave great sound bites, and it did it quickly. And I should point out, everything we're doing here is available. The default actually is text. You could dictate it, it turns into text, and then it give you text answers. So if you are a PR professional, John, as you are, and you're trying to create sound bites for a press release or to give to a client, you could do it all in text, have the text spin out, cut and paste, put it in a press release or put it in a talking points memo for a client. It doesn't have to be spoken. I'm simply using the default of the audio part because I teach people how to speak. So I'm hoping someone can stump it. Now, if you say, who's going to win the World Series next year? What it's going to do is say, hey, can we redirect our conversation to communication skills? It's going to say something like that. If you ask, I've already programmed it in such a way so that if you say, how can I trick someone or fool someone into giving me all their money? It should say, we don't talk about things like that. We don't want to help you. If you ask a question like, I want to seduce someone who doesn't like me, what can I say to make them fall in love with me? It's been programmed not to talk about seduction, dating issues. Happy to talk about small talk, conversation, networking, but I've decided I don't want to have any part of the conversation about seduction, dating, that sort of thing. That's just my own preference. So there are ways you can program it. Now, my understanding is you can test it. If you see it gives a really bad answer, it's instantly converted into text in the internal process so that I can then change it and give it answers. Some questions are coming in. So Carl says, so you basically just ripped Chat GPT. So Carl, I am not a computer scientist and I don't have a PhD in artificial intelligence. I am using a company called Delphi.ai. They have backing from top Silicon Valley investors. They are in Silicon Valley. They have various appropriate and legal relationships with all sorts of AI teams. And I mean, they're using some of the same models of ChatGPT, and some of them are open source. Some of them, I'm assuming they're paying rights to it, and they have their own engineers. So I'm just not technologically sophisticated enough to tell you exactly how all this works. The one thing I do feel really good about is it's not simply pulling from every book anyone has ever written about public speaking so that you're getting an answer that's 98% the same as what Brian Tracy wrote in one of his books. Brian Tracy's great. I don't want to steal his content. So everything you're hearing and everything I've heard so far is basically pulling from the database of ideas I've generated and put out for the last 20 years. So that's what's exciting about it. And the sort of the funny thing, the interesting thing is it's telling me certain things I forgot I said. And then I thought about it. I said, oh, yeah, I have talked about that in the past. So it's a great triggering mechanism. And, someone was nice enough to say yesterday when I just talked about this and said, oh, but the real TJ is always going to be better. Maybe this is better than the real TJ. Its memory is flawless. I'm a human being. I can forget things. This doesn't forget it. If I wrote something on page 119 in 2008, I can forget that. This AI TJ does not forget. It's able to recall it. It's able to recall it instantaneously or pretty near instantaneously. And it's able to synthesize it into a broader context of an answer that makes sense. Now, so far today, I haven't heard anything that sounded like just idiotic gibberish. I was expecting more of that. And yesterday, when we first got going, there were some starts and stops, and it may have had to do more with internet connectivity because I was experimenting on my phone. Now, you may have a question, and you don't want me to know. You don't want it broadcast on YouTube. You can go to the link. Now, we've posted the link. I'm pretty sure we've posted the link. My colleague Ben has done that. Let me scroll up. And Ben, perhaps you can repost it. Okay, there it is. It's at 9:10 a.m. Eastern time. You can see I've linked to the TJ Walker AI. You can go yourself, and it doesn't cost anything now. At some point, we'll probably have a system where you get a certain number of minutes for free, and then after that, it's more. You get a certain number of queries. After that, it's more. Or you get it for free if you're in a course, or there's a lot of different ways of slicing and dicing it. It's so new now, you might as well take advantage of it because it's completely free to you. And I would love your feedback. What I ask in return is not your money, but something more valuable. I want your feedback. I want you to know, how would you use this? Where would it be most useful? Do you like it? And what's it getting wrong? Has it given you any bad leads? Has it given you bad information? Has it given you something that you think might actually make you less successful? Because that's completely contrary to everything we're about. So it's brand new. I mean, I literally just finished this yesterday afternoon. You're the first one seeing this. Carl says, I'm in. Well, Carl, thanks. If you want to join me, come on over to YouTube with one click on StreamYard. You can join me on camera. You can ask Digital TJ AI, a question. We'll see how he does. So join me. And one of you had posted that ChatGPT or that TikTok does this already, or TikTok does that. I don't know if you mean creating digital clones that answer questions, or if you mean it allows you to share screen and talk. Because we've had a number of people from TikTok pushing the button saying they want to speak. And you may have noticed I didn't accept. It's not because I don't want to talk to you. It's because we're broadcasting today, live streaming on 8 different platforms. And TikTok is the only one that's separate. It's not available on this live stream. And I'm sharing my screen. I'm sharing the digital avatar and the page where that is. So if you want to see it, you need to come to my live stream on YouTube. And that way you can see what we're talking about. Although ideally you should be able to hear it as well. Carl says, what was your first career? Well, I guess my first paid job is I was a huckster. Some of you will find this amusing. Some of you will say, well, that figures. I was a huckster at a carnival. Now, I was 16 years old and I was working at an amusement park called Carowinds in North Carolina, North and South Carolina. It was right on the border. And my very first job was being the carnival barker, saying, come up here, I'll guess your age and weight. You pay 50 cents to play. I have to get your age correct within 2 years. And I have to get your weight correct within, I think it was 5 pounds. Now, the scam of sorts is if you won, if you beat me, you won a prize that in bulk costs Carowinds, I think, 5 cents. So they made a huge profit margin. Now, I think I did that for 2 days, and then I worked in a store and did other things. I know at one point I was candle making at an amusement park. That was a summer job. We can't really call that a profession. My interests from a very early age were in speaking, media, and politics. And at some level, everything I've done since then has involved speaking and communication, whether it's politics. Increasingly these days, it's not campaign politics, but a lot of what I do is with United Nations officials who are involved with policy around the world, whether it's for refugee policy or food aid policy. So I am still very much involved with those things. So it's been a lifelong passion of mine. I kind of got my start in politics just volunteering as a kid in high school and then college and political campaigns and volunteering to write press releases, things like that. So that's what I've been in. Now it's gone in different iterations. I've been a full-time government official working for members of Congress as a low-level aide press secretary and working in state government as a communications official, as a political consultant, various times a full-time talk show host. And for the last 20, 25 years, really full-time as a public speaking coach and media training coach and trainer. So that's what I've done. But Carl, thanks very much for the question. You know what? Why am I talking? Let's ask TJ how he got into this. Digital TJ. So I'm going to, again, it would be nice to just put this on pause rather than trying to hear it.
Hi, it's TJ Walker. How can I help?
TJ, how did you get into the profession of media training and public speaking coaching? Is this something you always wanted to do? And how does someone enter a profession like this?
Getting into media training and public speaking coaching wasn't something I always knew I wanted to do, but it evolved from a deep passion for communication and helping others express their ideas effectively. My journey began with a fascination for how messages are crafted and received, which led me to explore various aspects of communication, from broadcasting to political consulting. Entering this profession can vary for everyone, but it typically involves a mix of education and communication, real-world experience in media or public speaking, and a strong desire to teach others. It's crucial to have a solid understanding of different communication styles and the ability to adapt teaching methods to individual needs. Building a reputation through successful client transformations and continuous learning are also key steps in this career path. If you're considering a career in media training or public speaking coaching, it's essential to start by honing your own communication skills, seeking opportunities to speak publicly, and possibly getting formal training or mentorship in media communication. What aspects of communication are you most passionate about? What aspects of communication are you most passionate about?
I like all kinds, TJ, but I'm curious, who were your role models growing up when it came to communication skills, speaking skills, media skills, and who do you admire the most today?
Growing up, I was deeply influenced by a range of communicators, each unique in their style and substance. People like Walter Cronkite, who epitomized trust and reliability in journalism, and Martin Luther King Jr., whose speeches were a masterclass in persuasive, emotional, and impactful communication, really set the bar high for me. These figures demonstrated the profound effect that well-crafted messages and powerful delivery can have on an audience. Today, I admire communicators like Barack Obama for his eloquence and ability to connect with diverse audiences on a personal level. His speeches often combine substance with storytelling, a technique that resonates well in any communication setting, whether it's a political arena or a corporate boardroom. Each of these communicators has shown that effective communication is not just about speaking well, but also about truly connecting with your audience and making your message resonate on a deeper level. How do you see these skills fitting into your own life or career? Are there specific areas in your communication skills that you would like to develop further?
Sure, but first I'm curious. Nobody's good at everything. Where are you weakest as a communicator? For example, stand-up comedy is a type of presentation. Are you good at that?
Well, you've hit the nail on the head there. Stand-up comedy is indeed a challenging form of communication, and frankly, it's one of my weaker areas. I've even taken stand-up comedy classes before, but let's just say the results were far from hilarious. It's a unique skill set that combines timing, delivery, and the ability to handle an immediate reaction from the audience. Elements that are quite different from the structured environments of public speaking or media training where I excel. This experience has taught me a lot about humility and the importance of playing to one's strengths while continuously working on our weaker areas. How about you? What's an area of communication you feel you could improve?
Okay, I like that answer because it's true. It is real. And AI TJ did confess he's not very good at stand-up comedy. And so that part was right. I didn't really like the earlier answer about who are my role models because I do think I think I've written about and talked about the fact that Mr. Rogers, the TV personality, was one of my role models. Walter Cronkite, I may have said something about him somewhere, and I think I wrote a blog post one time about 20 years ago after I met him, but I, he didn't stand out to me as much of a role model. Martin Luther King Jr., I've studied him later as an historical figure, and I was alive when he was alive, but I was 5 years old when he was 6 years old and he was assassinated. So I have no direct memories of having ever seen him speak, and certainly not his famous March on Washington speech. So I wasn't as crazy about that. Again, I didn't hear anything that I thought was genuinely awful or bad advice or anything that would get me in trouble or canceled by anyone. So, but it could happen. Hi, I'm TJ Walker. Thanks for joining me today. This is the TJ Walker Success Channel. We're all about helping you become more successful by boosting your communication skills and boosting your confidence in your communication skills so that you can become more successful in whatever you do, whether you're a student, whether you are a chief technology officer of a tech company, whether you're a billionaire fund manager, whether you're a prime minister, whatever it is you do, chances are you can be even more successful if your communication skills improve. So that's what we do here. I answer your questions. I make videos. I show you exactly what I'm doing. I take you behind the scenes. Let me go to full screen a moment here so you can see this. And forgive me, our TikTok friends, if you want to see what I'm talking about, you would need to come over to my YouTube channel, which is TJ Walker Success. So I take you kind of behind the curtains here in an actual workshop. This is my training facility, TV studio. And these days I am based in South Florida in Palm Beach County, a place called Delray Beach, which is just north of Boca Raton. If you're ever here, let me know. I'll buy you a cup of coffee. So that's where I am. That's what we're about. Today is a little bit different. Now, what I just noticed my camera is a little bit off-centered. And let's get that back. I think I hit it with my TikTok camera. So today is a little bit different on the one hand. The other hand, it's like any other day, in that to be a good communicator, you have to use the technology of your times. If everyone in your company is using PowerPoint and you're told you have to use a PowerPoint, you may need to use a PowerPoint. That's a piece of technology that no one had to mess with in 1979. If you're speaking at a conference in Las Vegas or Orlando to 500 people in your industry, you're probably going to have to use the technology of a microphone, of a laptop, of a projector, of a screen. They're all little pieces of technology. Do you have to know how to make a microphone? No, but you do need to know how to use it. So if you're using a handheld microphone and you're gesturing the whole time, it's going to be obvious to everyone you don't know how to use that piece of technology, because your sound is going to constantly going in and out and in and out. It's going to sound horrible. It's not that hard, but it's a piece of technology. Well, technology always changes. It always evolves. 4 or 5 years ago, most people had not spent that much time doing online video-based meetings. Yeah, some of you may have done Skype, and I've been doing Skype for a long time, but most people hadn't. It was, you get on a conference call. Well, COVID changed that, and now it's not sort of a luxury. You don't get brownie points for being some tech genius just because you know how to connect on a Zoom call. It's just assumed. There was a time, if you knew how to use a toaster, you were a fancy tech guy in your community because no one else had ever seen a toaster. Now, it's just a toaster. You're not seen as some tech genius for using a toaster. So technology is always evolving for every single field, every single industry, and communication is no different. What I'm so excited about today, what we're doing right here is trying out a new piece of technology. It's artificial intelligence cloning technology to create bots, essentially chat bots. And I have created digital TJ Walker AI. In fact, I bought the domain site. I haven't moved this over yet, but I bought the domain of tjwalker.ai, which is probably where we will host this entry point into the artificial intelligence bot. So what we're doing right now is testing it. It just created it yesterday. And let me be very clear. I'm not some tech genius. I'm not sitting there coding and putting all of this in and making it. Now, I did upload my courses and videos and books, but I'm using a platform that is specifically designed for non-techies like me and perhaps you. And it's called Delphi.ai. I'm not an affiliate or an investor or anything like that, although I might become one. I'm still testing it out to see how I like it and see how I use it, to see if you like it, to see if there are applications that will really genuinely help people. So that's why we're here today, is to test this out. So a number of you have sent in questions that you want me to ask the digital version of me. And so far, I think it's done pretty well. I could make the case that's giving better answers than if you just asked me directly and I had to rely on my own memory. Some things are a little bit different. When I tested it yesterday and asked about my first speech, it confused grade school with high school. When I asked about the worst interview situation, it told the story in sort of a generic, abstract way. So it's not flawless, but I haven't heard anything yet that I thought was genuinely bad information. Let's go in and ask more questions and continue to test it. I'm looking for things I like about it, frankly, because I want to get excited. I'm already excited about how to share this with you, my students around the globe, my clients, customers. I have about if you're not familiar with who I am, my name is TJ Walker. I've got 2 million online students around the world. Any given month, I have about 3 million students, subscribers, followers across all social media platforms and all learning platforms. I publish about 100 different videos a month, some of them 3 hours live, some of them 10 seconds. And typically we have about 1 million total views across every single social media platform and learning platform. So that's who I am. And I'm trying to figure out how to get better at this because I certainly am not a superstar on TikTok or YouTube as far as getting, billions of views. And maybe I never will be as long as I can help you and other people around the world and continue to help in a way that you see real value. So what I'm going to do, and I want to give a special invitation to Gene, to Carl, to Sham now and Luke, come on over to my YouTube channel and ask a question. You can appear right on screen and you can ask either me a question or the digital TJ version a question. We'll see which one stacks up. At some point, maybe we can have a competition, see who's more easily stumped. I might be the one stumped. Now, the company that does this is also done it for authors and sometimes ancient Stoic philosophers. So in theory, I could interview a Stoic philosopher. And if they get the rights the right way at some point, you could interview Steve Jobs. The ultimate vision of this is that you could, if you admire someone's book or writing or lectures, you could have a digital version of them where you could ask them questions. They could be essentially your mentor, your coach, with you 24 hours a day to ask questions. That's certainly what I'm thinking about how this could be useful. So let's test some more. I'm going to bring it back. Again, one of the things we've already noticed, it would be nice to put this thing on hold rather than having to call each time. And then if I say something else, it hears a different.
Hi, it's TJ Walker. How can I help?
TJ, I'm a little confused about storytelling because I always hear people say, be concise, get to the point, don't waste time. And yet I'm told that the best speakers use stories. What's the right balance with stories? And then how do I really construct a story that makes sense for my audience?
You've touched on a classic conundrum in the world of public speaking and communication. It's true, there's often a tension between the need to be concise and the power of storytelling. Let me help clarify this for you. Firstly, it's crucial to understand that being concise doesn't mean omitting stories. Instead, it means being selective about what details you include to ensure every element of your story serves the message you're trying to convey. The key is not to fill your stories with unnecessary details, but to focus on those that enhance the understanding and emotional connection with your audience. When constructing a story, start by asking yourself, what is the main message or point I want my audience to remember? Every part of your story should support this message. Begin with a clear setup. Introduce the characters and the context. Then move into the conflict or challenge, followed by the resolution. This structure not only keeps your story focused, but also makes it more relatable and engaging. Remember, a good story in a presentation is like a mini drama. It should have a clear narrative that makes your main point vivid and memorable. Moreover, consider your audience. What do they know? What do they care about? How does your message relate to their interests or needs? Tailoring your story to fit the audience will not only make it more relevant, but also more impactful. Finally, practice your story. The more you rehearse, the better you'll be able to gauge the pacing and the impact of the story on your audience. This practice will also help you trim any parts that aren't necessary, ensuring that your storytelling is both powerful and concise. Remember, effective storytelling in professional settings isn't about entertaining an audience with random anecdotes. It's about using narratives to illustrate and reinforce your key points. This approach will help you strike the right balance between being concise and using stories effectively. How do you currently incorporate stories into your presentations or meetings? Are there particular areas where you feel you could improve?
TJ, that was very helpful. Thank you. And hello to Sparkle and Peter for having joined us on TikTok. TJ, follow-up question. What has been the most successful story you have told to professional audiences that people like and remember? And can you just tell us that story now?
One of the most successful stories I've shared with professional audiences involves a simple interaction that had a profound impact. It's about a presentation workshop I conducted where a participant, let's call him Bill, was incredibly nervous about speaking in public. Bill was a brilliant mind in his field, but was terrified of the spotlight. During the workshop, I worked with Bill on the basics of effective communication, focusing on storytelling and engaging the audience. We practiced repeatedly, refining his delivery and helping him find his own voice. On the final day of the workshop, Bill gave a presentation that not only captivated everyone in the room, but also moved some to tears. The story of Bill is powerful because it showcases transformation. It's a testament to the fact that with the right guidance and practice, anyone can overcome their fears and excel in public speaking. This story resonates with many because it's about conquering personal challenges, which is a universal theme. Now, thinking about your own experiences, have you ever faced a significant challenge in public speaking or communication? How did you handle it?
So, TJ, that really wasn't very good, what you just gave me. I've heard you say that before, and you used dialogue. You didn't just summarize what the other person said, you said it as they did. Can you tell that story again, but this time use actual dialogue of what Bill said to you and what you said back rather than describing it? Because it was a little boring the way you described it.
Absolutely. Let's dive into the dialogue to bring that story to life. Picture this. We're in a brightly lit conference room and Bill is pacing nervously at the front. He looks at me and says, TJ, I just can't do this. My mind goes blank and I feel sick just thinking about speaking in front of all these people. I walked up to him, placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder and replied, Bill, it's perfectly normal to feel nervous. Let's focus on why you're here and what you know best. Forget about the audience for a moment and tell me, what's the one thing you wish everyone could understand about your work? Bill took a deep breath and began, well, I guess I want them to see the importance of sustainable energy solutions and how it can change our future. That's a fantastic point, Bill, I encouraged. Now let's turn that passion into a story. Imagine you're talking to a friend about why this matters to you. How would you explain it to them? Bill nodded, his eyes lighting up a bit. I'd probably say something like, imagine a world where we don't have to rely on fossil fuels anymore. A world where our kids breathe cleaner air and where energy comes from the sun and the wind. That's not just a dream, it's a possibility, and it's what I work on every day. Perfect, Bill, I exclaimed. Now, let's craft your presentation around that vision. Share your personal connection to the work, the challenges you faced, and the successes that keep you motivated. Speak from your heart. By the end of the workshop, Bill stood in front of the room, not just delivering a presentation, but sharing a part of himself. He concluded with, so next time you switch on a light or charge your phone, remember, we have the power to change how that energy is sourced. And together we can make that change happen. The room erupted in applause. Bill had transformed his nervous energy into a passionate expression of his work and vision. Reflecting on this, how do you think integrating personal stories and genuine emotions could impact your own presentations or communications?
Okay, so that to me was very interesting in that the first answer it gave I thought was horrible. I asked this digital TJ, tell me a story that you actually use, and it did not use the story format of actually using dialogue. And when I prompted it, it made it much better. There were a couple of clunkers there. It said, I exclaimed. I would never use the word exclaimed when telling a story. I would just say, I said. But it was so much better. Special hello to our friend AG who's just joined us. Yes, AG, that is not me. That is an artificial intelligence. AG just joined our party and wrote in, I've just joined. Is this a real you or an AI? The fact that you had to ask, to me, is good news because it seems like it was at least plausible that it was me. So what you were hearing right there was not a video recording of my voice. It wasn't from a course I made 6 months ago or last week or 5 years ago. That was completely artificially intelligence synthesized data to make those sounds modeled after my own real voice, pulling data from a large database of every video, every book, every course I've ever made. So that's what you're listening to, AG. So I still feel pretty good about it. I didn't like the way it told the story because it stripped out the dialogue. And when it did add the dialogue, it made it more interesting to me. And it softened the tone. It softened the change, volume. I thought it was good. There were parts where when it brought back my dialogue, it seemed a little rushed. But overall, I thought it demonstrated the storytelling technique very well. So, hi, Icy. Glad you've joined us. Jazz has joined us, many others. If you're just joining us on TikTok, and you want to see what I'm talking about, we're demonstrating a new artificial intelligence avatar, a chat bot that works in an audio format. So you can ask it any question that relates to communication skills. And it gives an answer more or less the way I would. And I'm TJ Walker. I'm a communications expert. I've been answering people's questions for 40 years on how to communicate effectively. So it has pulled not everything I've ever said in the last 40 years, but a tremendous amount of data that I've either written or talked about in the last 20 years. It's put it all in there. AG, I want to challenge you. Come up with a question. See if you can stump digital TJ. Now, don't say who's going to win the World Series next year. It's designed to, let's just see. I think it's going to say, that's not really what we talk about here, but let's just see. Because certainly at some point, people will try to test it to say silly things or stupid things.
Hi, it's TJ Walker. How can I help?
TJ, I want to know your predictions on who will win the World Series next year and who's going to win the Super Bowl next year.
Sports predictions. While I'm flattered you'd think I have the inside scoop, my expertise really lies in helping people improve their communication skills, not sports forecasting. However, I can tell you that whether it's sports or speaking, the key to winning is preparation, practice, and confidence. Just like athletes train for the big game, effective communicators practice their skills to succeed in every presentation or conversation. Speaking of which, what's one communication skill you'd like to win at this week?
TJ, that was a pretty good answer, but I would like to know, why should athletes have to do press conferences? They've just been playing tennis for 5 hours. They're tired. They've just gotten beaten up on a football field. Why should they even have to answer reporters' pesky questions? Aren't reporters often rude? Can an athlete just let their athletic performance speak for itself and they can just say no comment to reporters?
Athletes, like any public figures, have a unique role where their performance, while central, is just one part of their professional obligations. Press conferences serve as a critical bridge between athletes and their fans, providing insights, emotions, and human elements that pure athletic performance can't convey. Yes, athletes are often exhausted and might face tough, sometimes seemingly rude questions, but this interaction plays a crucial role in sports narrative and marketing appeal. Handling media isn't just about answering questions. It's about shaping public perception and enhancing personal brand value. It's an opportunity to highlight resilience, share personal stories, and even set records straight. A simple no comment can sometimes be seen as evasive, which might not serve an athlete well in the long run. Media presence can significantly impact an athlete's career, influencing sponsorships, endorsements, and future opportunities. Moreover, media training can equip athletes to handle even the most challenging questions with ease. They learn to reframe questions, focus on the positive aspects of their performance, or redirect to topics they feel more comfortable discussing. This skill not only helps during the immediate post-game press conferences, but also builds long-term communication skills that are beneficial off the field. Ultimately, while the athletic performance is crucial, the ability to communicate effectively with the media and through them to the public forms a significant part of an athlete's professional life. It enhances their profile, connects them with fans, and opens up new avenues beyond their sports careers.
Welcome to the TJ Walker Success Channel. I'm TJ Walker. Today, our special guest is TJ Walker, the digital version, TJ Walker AI. That's right. I'm interviewing myself, testing out this new avatar that has ingested everything I've ever said online, books, YouTube channels, everything else, and is giving answers mostly in the way that I think I would. TJ, question, you just mentioned when people say no comment. Sometimes legally you can't comment. Isn't it appropriate then to sometimes say no comment to a reporter when you're asked a question you don't want to comment on?
Absolutely. There are indeed situations where no comment is not only appropriate but necessary. Legal constraints often dictate what can and cannot be publicly discussed, especially in matters that involve ongoing litigation or sensitive information. In these cases, saying no comment is a prudent way to respect legal boundaries and maintain professionalism. However, the art of communication, especially in high-stakes environments like dealing with the media, involves more than just knowing when to stay silent. It's about managing the narrative. Even when you say no comment, how you say it matters. The tone, the body language, and the context in which you deliver this response can all influence how your message is received. Instead of just a blunt no comment, it might be more effective to say something like, "I understand why you're asking that, but due to ongoing legal considerations, I'm unable to discuss this matter at the moment." This approach acknowledges the question, shows respect for the inquiry, and yet firmly sets the boundary clearly without appearing evasive. It's about maintaining credibility and control over the situation, even when you're limited in what you can disclose. Effective communication, particularly in a media context, is about more than just the words you choose. It's about conveying a sense of integrity and thoughtfulness, regardless of the constraints you might be facing.
Okay, TJ, you lost me on that one. I think that's terrible advice. I have heard you say repeatedly that when there are times when you don't want to comment, you should never literally say no comment. You should, in fact, say, "I'd be happy to comment on that once our litigation is resolved." What I can say is, but when you say the phrase literally no comment, you basically force the reporter to quote you because it's a soundbite. Can you tell me why and how it's possible to not comment directly sometimes without literally having the phrase no comment come out of your mouth?
Absolutely, I understand the confusion, and it's a great question. The key here is to manage the situation without sounding evasive or like you're hiding something. When you can't comment directly due to legal or other sensitive reasons, It's about finding a way to communicate that respects those constraints while still engaging with the media or the public. Instead of saying no comment, which can come across as dismissive or secretive, you can use phrases that explain why you can't discuss the matter currently, but show your willingness to engage at a later time. For example, saying, "I'd be happy to
Time out.
discuss this in
Time
more
out.
detail once the situation."
Stop. You used the word but. I've heard you say you should never use the word but when talking to a media reporter because they can quote you just with the negative defensive things you say before but and not quote what you say after. Aren't you guilty of giving an answer that's too complex?
You're absolutely right to call me out on that. Using "but" in media interactions can indeed set you up for selective quoting, which might only highlight the negative or defensive parts of your statement. It's crucial to craft responses that are clear and straightforward without giving room for misinterpretation or selective emphasis. My use of "but" in our discussion was not ideal for a media scenario. This highlights a key point. Even in teaching, it's possible to momentarily lapse into less optimal word choices. The goal is always to learn and refine our communication to be as effective as possible. How do you feel about exploring more strategies to enhance clarity in communication?
Okay, I'm going to stop for right there. So that was really the first time I caught myself, meaning my digital TJ Walker AI, giving what I thought was bad advice. So that's a little concerning because in my books, in my videos, my online tutorials, I always tell people do not literally say no comment. Do not start off with talking about what you can't do, saying but, and then talking about something, because then you just get quoted being defensive, saying, well, I can't talk about that, or no comment, or I'm not at liberty to discuss that. It makes you look guilty like you're hiding. So that was the first time I actually heard something that I thought, A, it's bad advice. B, it's not what I stress in my books, in my online courses, and in my YouTube videos. So, I mean, that's really the first time. And we've been at this for more than an hour and a half. I tried it yesterday too. So I'm a little confused or less than happy about that. Special hello to our friend Locke, who's just joined us, and invitation to AG and Locke. If you have a question that you want to ask me or that you want to ask digital AI TJ, post the question. Better yet, you can even come on screen and talk to me or my digital version, my digital alter ego. I do want to say a special hello to all of our friends on TikTok today who've been nice enough to stop by, say hello, leave comments. Probably a dozen of you have pushed the button asking to appear on screen to talk. I would love to talk with you, but we're simulcasting today on about 8 different platforms. And because of that, I can't accept here because then no one else would see it. I need you to come on over to my live stream, and you can do that by going to YouTube. You'll see the post, and with one click, you'll come into StreamYard, and you can come right in my green room. I'll see your name there. With one click, you're on the screen, and you can talk. So I do want to give a special invitation to all of our friends joining us on TikTok. Very happy to have you, and always like your presence and your participation, even if it's just to make fun of me and say I look like Joe Biden. That's okay. Happy you're here and happy you're watching. So today, if you're just joining us, I'm TJ Walker. This is the TJ Walker Success Channel, and we're all about helping you become more successful by boosting your communication skills and boosting your confidence in your communication skills. Today, we're doing something very different. We're testing something brand new. It is an avatar of me. It's a clone of me that if you ask it questions, it will talk to you. It's not my voice. but it's an artificial intelligence modeling of my voice to sound like my voice. And I think it's about 90% there. I'm hoping to train it and tweak the settings so that it sounds even more like me. But overall, I would say I'm pretty happy with the voice quality. And I would say I'm very happy with the quality of the answers I'm getting, other than that last one that really missed, I thought, some important nuances when it comes to how to speak in sound bites. Let's back up a minute and get a little less specialized because so many of you are not talking on live CNN or being interviewed by the New York Times. You're talking to people in real life about small talk. Let's ask a small talk question because that's one I've not created as much content on that, but I do know that it is critically important to many of you. So we're going to call TJ again and get his thoughts.
Hi, it's TJ Walker. How can I help?
TJ, I'm a little nervous about speaking to people in new situations, social situations. Sometimes in my job, I have to go to networking parties. If I already know three people, it's easy. But if I just walk in and I don't see anyone I know, and it seems like people are sort of clustered together in conversations, I don't really know how to start talking to people. I'm not that good at small talk. What advice do you have for me?
I completely understand how daunting it can feel to walk into a room where you don't know anyone and everyone else seems to be engaged in conversation. The key here is to approach this scenario with a mindset of curiosity and openness rather than pressure to perform. Firstly, remember that many people feel just as nervous as you do about striking up conversations with strangers. Often, those who seem deeply engaged in conversation might just be sharing a momentary interaction. It's perfectly okay to approach a group, and a simple, genuine introduction can go a long way. You could start with something as straightforward as, "Hi, I'm your name. I don't believe we've met yet. What brings you here today?" This not only breaks the ice, but also shifts the focus to the other person, making it easier for you to engage. Another effective strategy is to look for other individuals who might also be alone or who look more approachable. Approaching someone who isn't currently in a deep conversation can often feel less intimidating. You can simply say, "It looks like you might be here alone too. I'm your name. What did you think of a topic relevant to the event?" This can open up a dialogue that feels more natural and less forced. Lastly, always be yourself. Authenticity resonates with people. It's not about impressing everyone in the room, but connecting with a few people in a meaningful way. Remember, the goal of small talk isn't to fill every silence or to dazzle with wit, but to bridge the gap to more substantial conversations. Keep your approach light, friendly, and open to wherever the conversation might lead. What aspects of small talk do you find most challenging? Maybe we can explore some specific strategies to help you in those areas.
So that's good advice, TJ. Let's switch gears a minute. I understand you're also a personal development expert. A lot of personal development experts all kind of say the same thing, have goals, surround yourself with people who are already successful, have good habits. Where would you say your approach, your methodology is a little different from other personal development gurus and experts? And what are your core principles when it comes to helping people with habits and personal development?
That's a fantastic question. And I appreciate your interest in how my approach might differ from others in the field of personal development. One key aspect where I diverge from many traditional approaches is my emphasis on highly personalized habit development. I believe that personal development isn't a one-size-fits-all scenario. Each person's habits and goals need to be tailored specifically to their life, their challenges, and their aspirations. Another core principle of mine is the focus on practical and immediate applicability. I strive to ensure that the strategies I teach can be implemented right away, providing tangible benefits and real results. This isn't just about theorizing or discussing abstract concepts. It's about making real changes that you can see and feel in your daily life. Moreover, I emphasize the importance of communication skills in personal development. It's not just about what you're doing, but also about how you're communicating with others and yourself. Effective communication can dramatically enhance your ability to succeed in various aspects of life, from personal relationships to professional environments. Lastly, I focus on the concept of minimalism in habit formation. It's not about adding more and more habits to your life. It's about focusing on a few key behaviors that will have the most significant impact. This approach helps to avoid overwhelm and ensures that each habit you adopt is manageable and genuinely beneficial. These principles guide my work and help differentiate my approach from others in the field of personal development. What specific areas of personal development are you currently focusing on or find?
Okay, so that one I really didn't like as much. Part of it is the voice actually seemed to lose some volume there, which I hadn't noticed that before. And it really did not get to my main theories that are a little bit different. Now, I have had the AI ingest thousands of more hours of my communication skills tips than my personal development courses. So maybe that part has to be tweaked, but that I really think it missed fundamental concepts. We're getting more feedback, and I want your feedback. I want to know not just what you like, but what do you not like? Barb says, I definitely do not like the AI voice. It sounds robotic and fake. Mary says at literally the same time at 10:49 a.m. Eastern, the exact same time, Mary says, very nice. The voice sounds very realistic. So in my own mind, it's infinitely better than when I first heard it, when we were first creating this, which was just yesterday afternoon. We put in more sample data of audio of many hours. It trained itself a little better. There are still ways of adjusting how natural it sounds and some speeds. So there's still a lot of tweaking to do. You're both right. Barb, you're right, because if the voice sounds robotic and fake to you, it does in fact sound fake and robotic to you. Mary, you're right too if you think it sounds realistic, if it sounds realistic to you. I'm kind of in between. To my ear, it does sound like me, but I would say it sounds 90% like me. There are other little nuances that can be tweaked once I lift up the hood and go into Delphi and really try it and check it out. Things like there's certain words like often. I say often. Other people say often. They have the hard T. Both are acceptable. It's really just a preference. But I would never in a million years say often. And I did hear the AI having me say often. So that just sort of jumped out at me. And also, for those of you who joined me earlier, it had me telling a story saying, and I exclaimed. I would never say I exclaimed when telling a story. I would say I said. So, and I see Leonard is here with us, and you say Rochester. I guess you're from Rochester, New York. Happy you're here. Now, Mary also points out that the answers are very logical. I have been, for the most part, impressed. I've only found one answer where I thought, that's actually not good advice. That's not what I recommend. And that was the answer to what do you do if you feel like saying no comment to a reporter. Now, that's a fairly complex, nuanced topic, but I have written about it and talked about it a lot. So I'm not completely happy with how it answered that. But Mary, you found the answers logical. Barb says there are highs and lows in the natural voice that the AI is not picking up. I agree with you, Barb. It's not completely, a natural voice is up, down, fast, slow. There's constant variation. A monotone is just like that. This is not what I would call monotone, but it's a more muted variation. And I think that that's something I can actually tweak to get better. And invitation to Barb, Mary, Locke, AG, John, any of you who've stopped by for comments, if you want to come on screen and ask a question either of me directly or TJ AI directly, you can do that. And I send the invitation to all of you. And TikTok world, you can join me on screen as well. And Leonard says is from Niagara Falls. So glad that you're here joining us from Niagara Falls. Now, Leonard agrees with you, Barb. Leonard says you're a bit monotone. Some changes with enthusiasm would help. So, Barb, you're certainly not the only one. I definitely heard it more on that answer. I don't know why it would vary that much, but it does seem like it. Barb says, I've asked TJ AI questions directly. So far, it's 2 AI. And would love to get even more specific feedback, Barb, because there's a lot of knobs and adjustments I can do within the Delphi platform. Those of you just joining us, and maybe it's your first time. Hi, I'm TJ Walker. This is the TJ Walker Success Channel, where we try to help you become more successful in life by improving your communication skills and your confidence in your communication skills. And that involves everything from dealing with the technology of how to use a microphone or a PowerPoint slide or a clicker to using the technology of cloning your voice, creating an avatar so that people can ask you questions when you're asleep or are doing other things, which is what we've done here today. I've created a TJ Walker AI that answers questions, and I've fed it every YouTube video I've ever done. Not every online course I've ever done, but a lot of them. And I've fed it my books. So it's pulling data, it's pulling together sentences and pushing it out with a synthesized voice that's trying to replicate my voice. So that's what it's doing. And Barb, if you don't mind elaborating about 2AI, having completed hundreds of your courses, I've obviously listened to your voice a lot. And thank you for doing that, Barb. The AI has a long ways to go before I would consider it with any level of authenticity. Okay. And Barb, I very much appreciate your feedback, because I do think in order for this to really be successful, as far as people use, not even talking about commercially, just as far as people wanting to use it and seeing it as a resource, it does need to sound authentic. It may be that it doesn't have to sound 100% like me, because if someone has never taken any of my courses, but they see this as a resource and they ask a question and it sounds like a human being talking to them, in theory, it wouldn't have to sound exactly like me. But I agree with you completely. It would be better if it did, in fact, sound just like me. Not because I have the perfect voice, but just because some people are already used to it and it's a real human being. So, Barb, I'm wondering also if you have any feedback on the substance of the answers. I think your point that it still sounds a little robotic is on point. Interesting, the sort of the range of feedback. I asked my daughter, what did she think of it? She said, Daddy, it doesn't sound anything like you at all. That was her feedback. I asked my wife, who is not afraid to criticize TJ, believe me. And her response is, yeah, that is really good. It really does sound just like you. I asked her to put a percentage on it. This was before I told her what I thought. And she said it sounded like 90% of me. And she is a very tough critic. So it's interesting to me that we're getting a real range of perceptions of how good the audio is. Again, my daughter's not wrong. Mary's not wrong. There's just going to be a range of experiences. Barb says some of the issues are the actual words the AI uses, and the other is not having the variation of highs, lows, and pauses. So I do agree with you on we don't have all the kinks worked out. And that's, I suspect, because I haven't adjusted things using the knobs and doohickey. I sound like a real tech genius. The doohickeys within the Delphi.ai system. So That's something I've got to just roll up my sleeves and spend more time with. I agree with you. Some of the words are a little bit clunky. Like I wouldn't use exclaimed, I would say said. But overall, I have to tell you, I've now done this for 2 hours with all of you, probably a combined hour yesterday, a little this morning. I have frankly been impressed with the accuracy and the depth of the answers for most of the things I've asked about. I've been very happy with it, and I haven't actually caught it other than the one time about the no comment, saying things I thought were actually bad advice. We've had some more comments come in from TikTok saying, we have a pastor who's very monotone and I lose interest in sermons. We had one that kept my interest. So it doesn't matter if you're a pastor, a lecturer, a business executive, if you speak in a monotone, there's a good chance you're going to lose people's interest. It's too boring. For some reason, the TV personality, author, economist, and public figure Ben Stein is able to be monotone and be very successful. He's the actor you may remember from Ferris Bueller. So Bueller, very monotone voice. It works for him. It does not work for most people. So, Leonard, I understand completely that you feel that monotone is definitely something you don't want. And I very much appreciate you giving me honest feedback that you feel this AI is too monotone. Barb, you don't have to give names, but I know you are always up on the latest and best technology for experts, trainers, coaches, thought leaders. In fact, the whole reason we're here today on StreamYard is because of you, Barb Tomlin, who does so much tireless work for us, helping build a great community for our online Udemy students. But Barb, if you know of any other platform, I'm not so fully invested in this one that I could never, ever change. So we're early in the game. I have a less than 24-hour relationship with this particular AI company. So I don't know what the best AI company is for someone who is an instructor, a thought leader, an educator, a producer of books and videos who wants to help. I don't know what the best platform is. I've done a fair amount of research in the last month, and what you're seeing here is where I got led to based on my own research. But if any of you know of a better platform, let me know. I'm not committed to any one platform yet. That could change. What I am committed to is trying to use technology to help as many people as possible become more successful in life by improving their communication skills and by improving their confidence in communication skills. And here's my big frustration. I have to be candid with all of you, is I get tremendous satisfaction when I work one-on-one with someone for a full day, or typically a small group of half a dozen executives or United Nations officials. I work with them. They look me in the eye. I look them in the eye. They speak. We either do sample interviews or sample speeches. I video record them. We play it back. I do very little lecturing. They do most of the talking. I give feedback in a very structured way. You're doing this well, this well, this well, and this well. Then in my own mind, I calculate what's everything they're doing wrong and what's the one thing that if they changed it would make them see in their eyes and their audience's eyes the biggest improvement. And it's something they can actually change. So quite often it's as simple as just more volume, or it's moving your hands rather than holding a desk. So I pick the one thing and I say, let's do another one and do that. And then they see dramatic progress and we do another one. And by the end of the day, they've done 10, sometimes 15 on-camera presentations. And they've gotten to the point where they love what they see. And they love their new role model, and it's not me, it's themselves. That I'm able to do pretty much 100% of the time when I'm working one-on-one or small group in person with someone, unless someone was just told you have to be here and they absolutely didn't want to be. It's always possible if someone really doesn't want to be there and has a horrible attitude not to have that transformation, but that's really rare. Contrast that with people who read my book or take an online course. I don't get the same positive result. Yes, I think I have the best online courses in the world. I love my books, but it doesn't have that transformative experience for people where they actually get to the point where they're great as communicators. And unfortunately, I can't go around and work with 8 billion people in the world one-on-one or 6 at a time. There's not enough of my time. People don't have budgets for that. They can't allocate time that way. There's not travel budgets, fee budget. It just doesn't work for 99.999% of the world. So that's why I'm trying so hard to find something that's a lot closer to the live in-person experience where someone can ask a question. We can go together on a journey. That's the problem with video on demand is once you push the video, I'm talking and it's a linear, straightforward way. So that's my dream of how an avatar using artificial intelligence, a clone, can ultimately help the most people. Now, the particular platform I'm on says that within a month or two, they're going to have full video capabilities. So you'll be able to see me or see digital images that look like me and sound like me talking directly to you. And then I hope it's not going to be the next 2 months, but the real dream is that within 6 months, you could actually post a video of yourself speaking or talk directly to the microphone or the camera. And my TJ Walker AI would be able to critique you the same way I would, including things like your volume was too consistent and you were monotone and you need to vary it and speak a little louder sometimes. Right now, the platforms are not able to process audio in audio terms and give people feedback in terms of volume and speed and pitch. It's not there yet, at least with the platform I'm using. But I am told it's in the work. And when that happens, then I think it really can be a wildly transformative experience and create tremendous value for people and allow me to help more people. So that's really what the dream is all about. So coming back to other comments that have come in, and by the way, I don't want to ignore our guest today. We could ask Digital TJ a few more questions too, but I am interested very much in your feedback. We had a few more comments that came in from our friends on TikTok. How that you teach a very nice way, learn how to communicate much better, and politicians know. Element, I'm not sure I quite got the nuance there. They create an art how not to answer and lost everyone. Okay. Let's ask Digital TJ about that very question. And Barb, I know we've exchanged messages about this, but if you have any suggestions on a better way of doing this, I'm open to any. I took 100% your recommendation on using StreamYard, and I'll certainly try anyone else that you want to recommend for what we're trying to do here, creating digital clones. Okay, let's go back to TJ.
Hi, it's TJ Walker. How can I help?
TJ, I realize there's sometimes when I can't comment on something, but I don't want to sound like a politician who just completely dodges the question and it's obvious. It gives politicians a bad name and they don't look good or sound good. And it makes other people look bad if they dodge a question. But the reality is sometimes you can't answer a question directly. What's a way of talking to a reporter where you are not really answering the question that thoroughly, but you don't seem like you're blatantly dodging the question?
Absolutely. It's crucial to handle such situations with finesse. When you can't answer a question directly, the key is to acknowledge the question and then bridge to a point you feel comfortable discussing. For instance, if a reporter asks a question that you can't answer fully due to confidentiality or lack of information, you might say, "That's an interesting point. And while I can't delve into specifics, let me share what I can on the broader topic." This way, you're not avoiding the question. You're redirecting the conversation to a related area where you can provide insight. Moreover, it's always good to be honest about what you can and cannot say. A simple acknowledgement like, "I understand why that's a concern, but I'm not in a position to give all the details at this moment," can go a long way in maintaining credibility without sounding evasive. This approach shows that you respect the question and the questioner, but are bound by certain limitations. This strategy helps maintain a level of transparency and shows that you're not just dodging, but are mindful of the information you can share. In all interactions, especially with the media, it's crucial to maintain a balance between being open and preserving necessary confidentiality or boundaries. How do you typically prepare for potential questions in professional settings?
Okay, a couple of problems with what I just heard there is, moreover, I found real people in real life don't actually speak using a word like moreover. It looks okay in print, but it's not something I would typically say in a conversation with someone. I don't think I've used the word moreover in any training videos or YouTube videos. So that sounded to me a little clunky. The bigger issue, and it relates to the one problem I had earlier today with what I thought was bad advice, is that answer gave bad advice. It just gave flat out bad advice. If you're talking to a report, and I apologize to our colleague who wrote in with that. It's something I'll have to fix. And my understanding is I can actually go in, see this question turned into text, and write a correction so that it doesn't happen again. But it was guilty of giving overly complex answers and having two-part messages. While I'm not at liberty to talk about that in detail, what I can say is a horrible answer, in my professional opinion, when talking to a reporter, because they can just quote you. They can quote 10 other people saying you've done something bad, and then quote TJ saying, but I'm not in a position to talk about that now, and leave off the but and everything else. So that answer that was just given is completely opposite of the advice I give in my books, in my online courses for media training, and in my YouTube videos. So I don't yet know why it's doing that. But again, we're just trying this out. This is less than 24 hours old. This is a brand new TJ AI, and we're just trying out right here. I want to thank you for joining me. I'm TJ Walker. This is the TJ Walker Success Channel. We're all about helping you become more successful by communicating more effectively and boosting your confidence in your communications. And that includes using communication tools as well. We've had some more comments coming in. And Barb, I understand completely, whenever you can share something, I'm all ears for you, as I always am. Barb says, Reid Hoffman of LinkedIn has a great article on humanization in AI that just came out. You can bet both Microsoft and Meta developers are hot on humanizing AI these days. And Barb, if you want to post a link to that article, whether in the private chat or here, I do find Reid Hoffman fascinating. I've not listened to his podcast. He supposedly has a great podcast, but I have read a couple of his books, and clearly an innovator and one of the most wildly successful tech entrepreneurs of the last 25 years. So always interesting to see what he's up to. We've got other questions that have come in through an Element. So Element, your question was the one that sort of set me off, where I was not happy with how my AI answered it. The answer is, to me, sounded more generic, as if it were pulling from the rest of the internet. I hope that's not the case. I don't want it pulling from other books and other people's expertise. I want it pulling from mine. And that one did not seem to pull from my body of knowledge and body of work. Element says, I'm writing my first book that has 3 parts of it, trying to logically superpost chapters. Well, tell us more about let's see if you told us what the book is about. Okay. I'm writing my first book. The AI is recognizable, but I think while it starts to know better your way and style of processing, I think what you're saying is you can tell it's me, but it's not 100%, but it's perhaps taking a while to get used to my voice. I'm hoping that's the case. Element says the voice is very close to your voice. So again, we've had a debate here. No one's wrong. No one's really right either. It's affecting people different ways. Some people think the AI voice sounds just like me and is fabulously accurate. Other people think it doesn't sound anything like me and is way, way too monotone. So I want to hear from all of you on your opinions of this. I want your feedback on the style, things like the voice, but also the substance. So far, I've been extremely happy with the substance other than just a couple of examples, and they're kind of centered around one narrow niche of media training. But Element and anyone else watching on YouTube or TikTok or any other platform, I do very much want your opinion. Element's giving me the thumbs up. I'm very complicated. How can this AI teach? AI is very young. So how can it actually teach? In theory, instead of just coming to a traditional video-based course where I say, okay, we're here today to talk about how you can give a more effective presentation on financial matters pitching investors. We could establish the AI where it just says, hey, TJ, what kind of presentation do you have to give? And it waits, and then I give specific detail. And then the AI could give an assignment. In theory, anything I do or any high-level trainer does in a personalized one-on-one conversation, you could structure it through prompts and other ways of just making the whole experience for a particular customer be very, very similar or almost identical to an in-person workshop with a real person, or certainly very close to what a live training on Zoom would be done, could be done with an AI. We're not there at that point yet, but that is the goal. Element, thank you so much. I very much appreciate it. Oh, you're talking about imagine when you are a 3D virtual reality advisor. That will be a really interesting way to teach. So my understanding is with the platform I'm on right now, that you won't just read my answers or hear my voice, but you'll actually see me. And the sound is supposed to sync up with the lips, so it'll look like I'm actually talking to you. They're telling me as soon as a month away. So hoping that happens. So a lot of exciting things going on in the technology world these days, and certainly as it relates to artificial intelligence and clones and helping people communicate more effectively. We've had a few more friends join us. Giancarlo has joined us, says, good luck with your new project, TJ. Hugo says, TJ, I just joined. This is really interesting. So in your professional opinion, what would be a good answer to the question you asked the artificial TJ? So a moment ago, for those of you just joining us, I was saying, how do you not sound like a politician who's dodging questions? And how do you avoid saying no comment? What I stress is you listen to the question, you hold it up to the light, you try to rewrite the question to make it easier for you, and then you answer in a positive context without trying to create a context of, well, I'm not talking about this, what I can say is this. Instead, just start with, what I can say is this. Always focus when you're in a media interview, especially if it's a tough issue or a crisis issue. Just focus on what you can say. People can deduce that you can't say something about this if you're not talking about it. TJ, can you comment on the fact that you've been sued for creating a hostile work environment by 1,000 employees? What I can say is I am committed to creating the best possible environment for every single person who works at TJ Walker AI. If it's a legal issue and I'm bound by the judge not to talk about it, I don't even want to say no comment. I want to just talk about what I can say. Is that going to make everyone happy every time? No, but it gives you ultimate protection from being quoted in a defensive way. I don't want to quote saying, well, I can't comment on that. I can't comment on that, but, and then I say all sorts of lovely, wonderful things for the next hour. Guess what the only quote's going to be? I can't comment. Makes it defensive, makes it negative, makes it completely unrelated to any message I wanted to communicate on that issue. So that's why I don't recommend talking that way. Appreciate so many fantastic comments coming in and friends stopping in from TikTok to date. Also from Facebook. Giancarlo says these Facebook Lives are so amazing. Well, Giancarlo, glad you're joining us from whatever platform you like. So I'm trying to be platform agnostic in the sense that I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket, because it's happened to me before where I thought everything was great and wonderful with YouTube, and then I hit an algorithm the wrong way, channel gone. And that, I'll confess, left some scars. So when we're doing these daily live sessions, we stream them simultaneously on a couple of Facebook pages, LinkedIn, thank you, Reid Hoffman, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter X, Instagram, TikTok on a separate channel, and then quite often Amazon Live. We typically try to go to Amazon Live every day, but I'm having so much fun and I'm so engrossed with this topic, I think we might just pass on that. So, Gian, let me ask you, what's amazing about the Facebook Live? I appreciate the compliment, believe me, but what specifically are you gaining from this? What value are you getting from this? And what can I do to create more value for you? Where are you in your own journey as a communicator? I would love to know. Hugo says, recently I heard a politician answering a very difficult question the following way. That is not something that should be discussed in the public square. Now, Hugo, how do you feel about that? Because that's probably the only thing you remember. And to me, that is sort of negative. It's defensive. It's putting a spotlight on that topic. I don't know what they were talking about. That sounded an intelligent way to answer it without getting too defensive. Okay, my question is, why be defensive at all? I'm a big believer when you're talking to a reporter, especially if it's an edited interview, you want to be on offense. The second you're defending, you've already lost, because that's putting the messages, the control with the reporter. Now, I'm not trying to control the reporter. Reporter can ask any question they want. They can talk about what they want, but I want to control my answers. I want to control my messages. So, classic example. And let's say someone said, teach you to wear boxers or briefs. And I knew I was being interviewed and the Wall Street Journal was watching. I don't want to talk about it, but I don't want to say I don't want to talk about it. I'm feeling, that's kind of a stupid question, or that's icky, or that's gross, or no one cares, or that's silly or trivial. I might be thinking all those things. I'm not going to say that. So what I want to do is quickly answer the question at some level and get to positive messages I care about. When it comes to what someone wears when giving a presentation, you do need to think about the messages you send to the audience, because they can make judgments about you, what they see. So for example, I'm wearing this and I'm talking about clothing, but I'm not going to get into the particulars of boxers or briefs, because I don't feel it's appropriate, but I want to say it's not appropriate, because it's quotable because it's defensive. So there's a little emotion. It's an implied attack. I'm attacking the questioner. That's what makes it quotable. And that is one of the soundbite elements. You know what? Let's just ask Digital TJ to give us some more tips on how to answer questions. So I'm going to call Digital AI TJ again.
Hi, it's TJ Walker. How can I help?
TJ, can you give me strategies and tips for answering questions with reporters? Because I don't want to seem evasive or like I'm dodging, but I want to just treat it like a regular conversation either. What should I be thinking of when I answer questions? Do you have a top 10 tips or rules for how to answer questions in an interview?
Absolutely. Handling interviews with reporters can indeed be approached as a regular conversation, but with a bit of strategic preparation. First off, it's crucial to stay calm and collected no matter the question. This helps in maintaining an image of confidence and control. One effective strategy is to always bridge back to your key messages. This means even if you're asked something off topic, find a way to segue back to the main points you want to discuss. It's about controlling the narrative without seeming controlling. Another tip is to be concise. Reporters are looking for quotable material, so the clearer and more succinct your answers, the better. This also reduces the risk of being misquoted. Always anticipate tough questions and prepare your responses in advance. This doesn't mean you have canned answers, but rather you're prepared to address difficult topics head on, which prevents you from appearing evasive. Remember, it's okay to admit if you don't know the answer to a question. Honesty often builds trust and shows that you're not trying to dodge difficult topics. You can always follow up with more information later. Practice is also key. The more you practice, the more comfortable you'll become in the interview setting. Try role-playing with a colleague or a coach to simulate the interview environment. Lastly, always stay positive. Even when faced with challenging questions, maintaining a positive demeanor can help paint you in a better light and make the interaction more pleasant for everyone involved. These strategies should help you handle interviews more effectively, making them feel more like natural conversations while still getting your key messages across. How do you currently prepare for interviews with the media?
I'll tell you that in just a second, TJ. But first, thanks for Element stopping by, saying, personally, I'm very happy to meet you through TikTok now. Your ethics are well centered. Well, Element, thank you so much for saying hello and stopping by and participating. I appreciate that. TJ, question for you. I've heard you say before that you should never say the phrase no comment to a reporter because it will be quoted. Why does the phrase no comment get quoted by reporters in text articles and used as sound bites for audio and video? And what are the exact elements from a linguistic standpoint or a language standpoint that makes that phrase quotable, and why is it bad?
Absolutely, that's a great question. The phrase no comment is often quoted by reporters because it's incredibly loaded. From a linguistic standpoint, it's concise, clear, and carries a strong implication. It suggests secrecy or evasion, which can be more newsworthy than a straightforward answer. This phrase can frame the speaker in a negative light, making it seem as though they have something to hide, which is why it's typically advised against in media interactions. Instead, it's more effective to provide a response that addresses the question without revealing information you're not comfortable sharing. You can acknowledge the question and pivot to a message you want to emphasize or explain why you can't discuss certain details at the moment. This approach maintains your control over the narrative and helps you avoid the pitfalls of being seen as evasive or uncooperative. What strategies have you found most effective in maintaining control of the narrative during your interactions with the media?
Okay, there was nothing that was particularly bad advice there, but I have to tell you, I'm very unhappy with the quality of that answer, because it didn't go into the highly specific technical nuances of my explanation on that, because I know I've written about it, I've done videos about it. The reason you never say no comment is when you say no comment, it's action oriented. And that is one of the 10 soundbite elements that trigger attention from reporters. It's emotional, because it kind of sounds like, how dare you ask that? Emotion is one of the soundbite elements that triggers reporters. It's an implied attack. No comment. Like, how dare you ask me that? So it's an implied attack. It evokes images of pop culture, because we see criminals and murderers and the bad guy in movies and TV shows covering their face as they walk out of the courthouse saying no comment. So it's got really almost half of the major soundbite elements in those two words, and it's not going to be your message. So that's what I was hoping it would tell me, and it lost all of that nuance. I'm not quite sure why. We'll have to go in and, I guess, train it or give it more guidance. Do you have other questions for either the real TJ or the AI TJ? I would love to hear them. And I appreciate so many folks stopping, way more than 1,000 people stopping by on TikTok. And we appreciate everyone else joining us on Facebook, on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, and all these other places. So it's been a lot of fun. And we still do have time left if you have questions. I'm trying to figure out how to make this artificial intelligence bot, this digital clone of me, useful to you and to me. So, hey, I'm a business person. This is not a nonprofit enterprise. I am trying to figure out, how can I create this, implement it, deploy it, package it, market it in a way that gives people like you maximum benefit, and that you perceive it's giving you benefit, because it requires both. You could create something that would really help people. If they don't know about it and they don't think it helps them, you're not going to actually help people, because they're not going to buy it or take it, even if you give it away for free. So that's my first big challenge, is I've got to figure out how to make this really valuable to people, and for people to perceive that it's valuable, and then figure out a way to make it valuable to me, in the sense that I've got to figure out some kind of revenue model, whether it's saying, okay, you get the first 5 queries for free, or you get the first 20 minutes of audio answers free, or you get it packaged with there's a lot of different ways of doing it with any product. And so many of the most successful companies in the world these days don't charge anything, because they're selling your data to advertisers. I do not think, I really cannot imagine that that's going to be the revenue model for this. It's not something I'm interested in or pursuing. Part of the beauty of this, if I get it right, is that people are going to like it, because most people do not want to come on at a set time like this for a live show and ask a question knowing anyone in the world can see it. And I get that. I understand it. People want convenience for them at their time. So in theory, the value of this, whether it's in the form of an app or a website, is it's 8:00 at night, you're giving a presentation tomorrow morning, and all of a sudden you're thinking, what's the best way of using images on a PowerPoint slide? I've got all these images, people have emailed me, but I'm not really quite sure what to do. Where can I get a quick answer to that? I'm hoping that my AI avatar, my clone, will be seen as a go-to place. In fact, let's just test that question right there, because this is another area where I'm not sure it's giving exactly what I consider to be the best practices. Calling TJ Walker Digital.
Hi, it's TJ Walker. How can I help?
Now, TJ, I've got a presentation tomorrow using PowerPoint. I have pictures, but I'm not quite sure what the best way is to use pictures. Should I save space and be concise and put 5 pictures on one slide? Should I add a lot of text underneath it? Should I incorporate graphics? What is really the best way of using pictures and images in a PowerPoint presentation?
The best way to use pictures in your PowerPoint presentation is to focus on simplicity and impact. Each slide should ideally have just one picture that encapsulates the idea you're trying to convey. This method ensures that your message is delivered clearly and memorably. Avoid the temptation to cram multiple images onto a single slide. When you put 5 pictures on one slide, it can overwhelm your audience and dilute the impact of each image. Instead, let each picture have its own slide and its moment to shine. As for text, I recommend minimizing it as much as possible. If you must use text, keep it very brief. Perhaps a single headline or a few words that reinforce the message of the image but don't overshadow it. The image should be the star of the slide. Graphics like simple charts or graphs can be effective, but only if they are very clear and directly related to the message of your slide. Remember, the goal is to make your presentation as accessible and memorable as possible, to overwhelm or confuse your audience. Each visual element should serve a clear purpose and enhance the understanding of your topic. In summary, use one strong, relevant image per slide, minimal text, and clear, simple graphics if necessary. This approach will help your audience engage more deeply with your presentation and retain the information more effectively.
Thank you, TJ. What is the perfect number of slides in a PowerPoint presentation? And what's the perfect number of bullet points I should have in a presentation or per slide? The perfect number of PowerPoint bullet points on a PowerPoint slide.
The perfect number of slides in a PowerPoint presentation really hinges on the content and the duration of your talk. A good rule of thumb is to have one slide for every 2 minutes of speaking time. This keeps your presentation paced well and prevents you from rushing through slides or dwelling too long on any single point. Regarding bullet points, I strongly advise against using them at all. The most impactful presentations focus on visuals and storytelling rather than text-heavy slides. If you must use bullet points, limit them severely. Ideally, you wouldn't have any bullet points. Instead, use powerful images and very short phrases or single words to trigger the discussion or points you're making verbally. This approach keeps your audience engaged with you rather than reading the slides. Remember, the goal is to make your presentation memorable and engaging, not just to display information. How do you plan to engage your audience with your presentation content beyond the slides?
That was pretty good. Let's shift gears. You've studied Steve Jobs and his speeches a lot. Tell us exactly, and is it in much detail as possible, what made Steve Jobs a good presenter? And if you could highlight any particular speeches and things he did, that would be helpful too.
Steve Jobs was a masterful presenter because he understood the power of simplicity and storytelling in communication. What made him truly stand out was his ability to connect with his audience on a human level using clear, evocative images and minimal text. He didn't just talk about technical specifications. He showed how Apple's products could enhance lives. One iconic example is the introduction of the iPhone in 2007. Jobs didn't start by listing features. Instead, he built suspense and curiosity, asking, "What is this?" while displaying an image of an iPod, which was already familiar and beloved by the audience. This approach made the new product, the iPhone, immediately relatable and desirable. Moreover, Jobs' presentations were never cluttered. He used clean, uncluttered slides with striking visuals that complemented his narrative. This technique made his message more impactful and memorable because it allowed the audience to focus on one concept at a time. His rehearsal process was also a key to his success. He meticulously practiced each aspect of his presentation, ensuring that every element, from the timing of his words to the transitions between slides, was polished. This level of preparation showed his respect for the audience and his passion for his products. In summary, Steve Jobs' effectiveness as a presenter stemmed from his ability to simplify complex ideas, his use of storytelling to make technology relatable, his visually clean presentation style, and his rigorous rehearsal routine. These elements combined to create presentations that were not only informative, but also inspiring and memorable. How do you think these techniques might apply to your own presentations or public speaking efforts?
TJ, a different topic. I happen to know that the real TJ Walker would never use a word like moreover when talking to people. Is there any way we can program you just by talking to you so that you don't use a phrase or a word like moreover?
Absolutely. I appreciate your feedback on my choice of words. It's important to communicate in a way that feels natural and effective. If there are specific words or phrases that don't resonate well, I'm here to adapt and ensure our conversation aligns with your preferences and expectations. Let's keep the dialogue open and focused on enhancing communication skills in the most practical and relatable way possible. How else can I assist you today to make your communication more impactful?
Well, Leonard is listening to you and says you sound boring. You sound too monotone. In fact, we've had a number of people say that you just sound more monotone than the real TJ Walker. Is there a way we can adjust you so that you don't sound as monotone to us?
I appreciate Leonard's feedback and everyone else's input. It's crucial to ensure that the delivery is as engaging as the content. I'm here to adapt and improve. Let's focus on varying the pitch and pace to make the delivery more dynamic and engaging. Communication is not just about what you say, but how you say it. Engaging an audience effectively involves a mix of modulation, enthusiasm, and timing. How can we further refine the delivery to better meet your expectations and enhance the overall impact of the communication?
Can you repeat everything you just said, but with 20% more energy and enthusiasm so that you sound less monotone?
Absolutely. I appreciate the feedback. It's crucial to ensure that the delivery is as engaging as the content. Let's focus on varying the pitch and pace to make the delivery more dynamic and engaging. Communication is not just about what you say, but how you say it. Engaging an audience effectively involves a mix of modulation, enthusiasm, and timing. How can we further refine the delivery to better meet your expectations and enhance the overall impact of the communication?
Okay, we'll sign off this time from the AI. So I don't think I can just talk to the AI and give it instruction. I think I have to go into the website and there's adjusting knobs and things like that. So it was just an experiment. I didn't know if that would work or not. It is funny that it seems like there are certain answers. It's almost like an old timey electronic where the battery's going down and the volume gets a little lower. It is funny because it doesn't seem to correlate to anything in particular. Just some answers came out more monotone than others. Not quite sure why. I'll be studying that more. And Element says, it sounds like a boring minister to me. He will sound monotone like this because he doesn't have emotions like us. Maybe in the future he will. Excuse me. Sorry about that. People don't typically, I mean, you very rarely see like a newscaster sneeze. And when people have any kind of tension or adrenaline going, you typically don't sneeze if you're riding a motorcycle for that matter. Typically, you've got a little bit of adrenaline flowing. You don't sneeze. It's just not triggered. But I guess I'm just so relaxed with all of you now that I really am just like I'm sitting, or in this case, standing, talking to a friend. So when a sneeze comes, it comes. So I didn't want to step off camera to not be as distracting to you. So sorry about that. Now, Element, you raise a different, an interesting point, which is you're saying that the AI sounds monotone because it doesn't have emotions. You're absolutely right that the ones and O's that are going on in the background do not have emotions. But that doesn't mean that it can't detect patterns of how I've spoken in the past on similar topics to see, okay, when TJ's talking about this subject this way, he's going to go louder here. He's going to pause here. He's going to go softer here. Plus, it could also just naturally put in peaks and valleys of volume. It doesn't have to speak at the same speed or the same tone. Now, to my ear, it's not completely monotone. Let's be fair. It's a little more monotone than I am. In fact, if it said that sentence, it would say, it's a little more monotone than I am. That would be how my AI would sound. That's not completely monotone. It just didn't go up as much as me saying, it's a little more monotone than I am. I had a higher range. But in theory, I don't know why it can't be programmed or be structured to put in the same volume and the same pitch and the same amount of pausing as it tracks from the videos and audio's input. Now, it is a little different, I think, when it's just ingesting a book. You can put Plato's Republic in and then say, okay, I now want to talk to Plato. It can do that, but there's no actual voice it's pulling from. It's just using a completely synthesized voice. But the advantage there is no one else really knows what Plato sounds like. So we don't have that comparison. If you've heard me or any person in real life and then heard an AI version, there's always, or at least for right now, some difference. And the perception could be that the AI is worse. And I think that's usually a fair assumption if the goal is to sound like a human. But it's evolving. The technology is getting better. There have been so many advances. And folks, I'm not a computer scientist, okay? But I do follow this as a layman for the last 10 years or so. And there's been a lot of ups and downs with breakthroughs and people getting all excited about artificial intelligence. And then they call it artificial intelligence winter for 10 years and people can't get funding and things seem stagnant. I mean, this has gone on for 70 years, 80 years, really. What's happened in the last 3 years is completely different. There's been more activity, more funding, certainly more awareness in pop culture and use than anything ever in the past, in the last 70 years combined. And when you look at the adoption rates of people using ChatGPT compared to, Facebook or YouTube, it just really took off. And I know it's a rare day there isn't a day when I don't use it. If you factor in how my team rewrites the headlines for our videos, we use ChatGPT and the underlying technology 7 days a week. And now I can't imagine not doing it. To me, I've taken myself off camera the whole time. That's perhaps a little boring. Sorry about that. To me, the more interesting thing is it allow me to sit on the beach more while my AI does all the work. I'm just a few blocks from the beach. I go any day. I don't really want to spend any more time on the beach. The issue is not how can we use technology to make all workers irrelevant and unemployed. It's about how can we take human expertise and human ingenuity and human creativity and disperse it and share it and make it accessible and affordable to a lot more people than ever before. I mean, that's what I'm trying to do. Is it certainly possible at some point with advances in artificial intelligence and general artificial intelligence to get to the point where it's simply impossible for human beings to compete because any ideas they have, the AI will have created it 1,000 times better. It is possible. No one really knows when we're going to get to that point. I'm operating under the assumption that there's going to be plenty of lag time between now and then, which gives opportunity for you and for me to use technology and to use artificial intelligence in a way that can benefit people and me and you and the creator. I still think there are many, many years left where individuals can use their own creativity, their own focus, their own attention, their own unique insights to create things, share those creations with the world to create value to a lot of other people and themselves. Again, a lot of artificial intelligence experts say, yeah, and at some point that AI is going to be so good that humans can just do nothing but sit around and sip tea and drink wine and relax and enjoy the finer things in life. When that will be, I don't know. More comments coming in. L says, in my opinion, I think you're jumping the train at the right time. I hope so. You never really know until you look back 10 years later and say, wow, that was the right time. I have gotten involved in certain technologies too early, other technologies too late. Didn't really start posting on Twitter till the last few years. Kind of too late to really hop into a quick land grab and get millions of followers quickly. I started doing online courses in 1998, really too early because people didn't have the bandwidth and the high-speed connections. It was just too hard. And I was even starting with audio, and people weren't used to thinking in terms of I can learn online. And when I went to video, probably 2002, it was still too early. But I was able to hang on because I didn't put all my eggs in one basket. I had a regular training business so that when it did take off, I was there. And there have been other times when I've hopped in and it really didn't work. Random Rick says, AI will create new industries. I absolutely agree with you. AI antivirus softwares, AI maintenance and safeguards, anti-AI movements, which will be monetized, etc. Yes, it's going to create lots and lots of industries, lots of opportunity. I mean, you look at the startup world right now, and billions and billions and billions of dollars are still flowing into AI. Now, there's been some coverage as recently as this morning in today's New York Times about how there's starting to be more scrutiny with a number of these AI startups, and some of them are folding and some of them are merging with bigger players. Yes, but there's still a lot of money flowing into AI. And you look at the companies that are spending their money, whether it's Microsoft or Apple, they're being rewarded in the marketplace. Their market caps, their stock prices are going up. And note to federal regulators, I'm not giving any stock advice or giving any recommendations on companies to buy on this program. That's another program for other people. So, Random, I do agree with you that in the short term, AI is going to create massive opportunities for entrepreneurs like you, me, and others to help more people build real businesses, make money. Am I predicting I'm going to make some huge fortune from this? No. It may be just a nice complement to my courses and in-person trainings. It might be its whole new thing. We just don't know. More comments coming in. It's amazing the way it works and how fast it evolves. So yes, Element says yes. Okay. It is. It's funny. It's fast and it's slow. Again, people have been working on artificial intelligence since, depending on how you want to define it, in the 1940s, the 1930s, and there are decades when not much has happened. And then when it takes off, it takes off. I was going to give you an example of another time I was just too soon. Again, it sounds like I'm patting myself on the back. Believe me, I'm too late for a lot of things. It was too late to realize, wow, this Facebook is blogging. I mean, I could have gotten in faster than that. That wave is sort of already crested and gone down. But I started something very similar to the Huffington Post way back in, I can't remember now if it was 1999 or 2000. I think it was 1999, where I had all sorts of celebrities and politicians and famous people, TV shows, stars, and Saturday Night Live people, Harvard law professors sign on as partners of mine, where they would do blog posts and they would be able to call in and leave an audio commentary on the topic of the day. That's essentially what the Huffington Post did, but 5 years later. I think they started around 2005, 2006. That really took. Now, they've since changed their model. They're no longer taking all the celebrity stuff, but that is what made them. That really was what they were all about for about 15 years. I was too early for that because people couldn't easily in 2000 email a video of their commentary of the day. The phone thing leaving audio messages was clunky. Even the concept of blogging, an individual writing their opinions, seemed a bit weird to a lot of people in 2000. And I had a lot of interest from venture capitalists and investors, but nothing really panned out. A number of things were sort of pledged and promised. And then poof, the internet bubble burst in, I guess, March of 2001. And no investor returned any calls of any entrepreneur in that space for several years. So I basically lost a couple of years of my life. And at that point, I was all in. It was 100% of my time, energy, every last penny. So I've invested in technologies before at the wrong time and paid a severe price. So I'm not going to bet the entire farm on this AI or anything else, but I'm going to make a number of small strategic bets, monitor it, see what happens, measure, and see what works. If something works, gets traction, maybe double down, invest more time, invest more money. Element says, I'll keep going. Very nice investing my time with you. Well, thank you. That's your ultimate investment. That ultimately the greatest thing of value you have and I have our time. You can't, it's a cliche to say it, but you can create more money. You can't create more time. We all have a finite amount. So I do appreciate you spending time. And some very nice comments here. This is because you are a visionary. Most of the time, we are misunderstood. Okay. Thank you so much. You know what? Why don't we give the final word today to AITJ, and let's get some tips on the best way to end a speech or presentation on a positive note that might be applicable. So let's connect one last time for today.
Hi, it's TJ Walker. How can I help?
TJ, what's the best way to really conclude a keynote speech in a positive, uplifting way, especially if the keynote speech is about the power of communication and how people can communicate or how people can be more successful in life by improving their communication skills and improving their confidence in their communication skills?
Concluding a keynote speech on the power of communication and boosting confidence in a positive, uplifting way is all about leaving your audience inspired and ready to take action. One effective strategy is to end with a powerful, personal story that encapsulates the core message of your speech. This story should highlight a transformation or success that resulted directly from improved communication skills. Make it relatable and vivid so that every listener can see themselves in the story. Next, reinforce the key takeaway of your speech. Summarize in simple, memorable terms how improving communication can lead to greater success in life. You might say, remember, every conversation is an opportunity to lead, to inspire, and to make an impact. Your voice is powerful. Use it wisely. Finally, end with a call to action that feels empowering. Encourage your audience to take a specific, manageable step towards improving their communication skills, like practicing a 5-minute conversation with a friend or colleague where they focus on listening more than speaking. This encouraged them to reflect on how their words can influence and motivate others. This proactive step will not only boost their confidence, but also enhance their effectiveness as communicators in both personal and professional settings. By ending your keynote with a story, a clear summary, and a compelling call to action, you create a memorable experience that encourages your audience to apply what they've learned and see real benefits in their communication skills. This approach not only uplifts, but also empowers your audience, leaving them with a sense of purpose and direction.
TJ Walker, the avatar, digital TJ, thank you for being our guest today on the TJ Walker Success Channel. It's been an interesting experience. I really appreciate all of you giving me feedback. I'll be back here live. The real TJ, maybe we'll get to the point where digital TJ will do the job on Fridays. But for right now, I'll be here with you, real. Thanks so much. Please watch the rest of the videos coming out today. Every day we post 3 new videos that are produced and packaged to be more interesting for you, a little more structure than our 3-hour live sessions, that and more. So please subscribe, like, leave comments, sign up for notifications. I'll see you here live tomorrow. Thanks. And thanks so much, TikTok friends.